would appear in our records. It does not exist.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Tales from the Archives. I am Grayson of Mortis FM, and with me is the ensemble of amazing people that I like to call my friends in the Star Wars community. Missing one, but we'll get to that in a second. And we're talking about Dark Disciple today, but let's introduce everybody. First, Tony.
What's up, guys? I'm Tony from Star Wars Sith.
Is that me?
Yeah, bro. Order of operations.
Okay, you got to figure out how to point in a mirror. Hi,
Yes.
I'm Will, and you already know that.
Hi, I'm Connor from Beyond the Dune Sea. Nice to be here. Happy to be here with all these fantastic gentlemen, minus Seth. He's all right.
And I'm Seth from Beyond the Dune Sea.
And you notice we are missing one individual, and that is my best friend in the whole world, Cole. But he has a message that he wanted to share. If I had a nickel for every time a Jedi that survived Order 66, who happens to brush with the dark side, gets romantically involved with the Night Sister that survived Grievous's purge of Dathomir, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened twice. There you go.
I didn't make that connection. That's great.
Dark Disciple. We read it all in one go as comparative to Darth Plagueis. We did it and broke it up into 3. But before we kind of get into the weeds of the summaries, what did everybody think of this book? Tony, I guess going. Yep, that one. I'm learning, Will.
I'm right here.
You go first. What did you think of Dark Disciple?
So I enjoyed it a lot. It's super fresh on my mind because I am the procrastinator of the group. So I started it yesterday night and finished it like 20 minutes ago. But I had a lot of fun. I know, like in the group chat, Seth was like, he was reading chapter 5 and it felt like a Clone Wars episode. So the whole time I'm reading this book, I just felt like this is just a long Clone Wars arc. And I had a lot of fun with it. I've kind of knew a little bit about the story, but it's kind of nice knowing more of the full story in depth. And like literally everybody was in the book. So I had a great time with it.
Yeah, seconded. It felt like, I mean, it was supposed to be 8 Clone Wars episodes. It very much reads like that. And it included characters that I was not fully expecting to be as prevalent in it. But I fairly enjoyed it. I have a couple of weird, just kind of like roller coaster highs and lows that I'll get to, but for the most part, I really, really liked it. Will?
Mid. I don't really like it. I didn't really like it. I didn't really like it.
Say what you really said to me earlier beforehand.
I said this book was cheeks. No, I'm kidding. I just wasn't a really big fan. Honestly, there's a lot that we're going to talk about that. So I finished the book last week. And then over the last week, I think I spent most of my time as a Star Wars fan just poking holes in this book, which I didn't really want to do. But I'd be like, oh, that stream's coming up. Tales of the Archives. Talk about Dark Disciple. Hey, wait a minute. And I would do that like with a ton of stuff in this book.
Yeah.
So we'll get into it, but I might be the contrarian of the group, as this was not one of my favorite reads.
There has to be someone, I guess. Well, that's okay. Connor, what did you think?
I absolutely loved that this book showed me that I don't just like Star Wars because it's Star Wars. I'm with Will. I was not a big fan, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Ooh.
And here's the thing. I went into it being like, I thought I was going to love it because my other friend groups, they often accuse me of just like, you like everything. Oh, hush.
Yeah.
You don't, they don't ever take my opinion seriously.
Chill.
And as I went through, I just was like, I literally have for one of the chapters, all my notes said was, dude, what is this? Because
Yep.
Now that being said, we will get into it. There were parts that I really dug, and there were characters that I really dug. But overall, it was just not for me.
Cheeks.
Seth, before you give your thoughts, I just wanted to say that Connor, as I was reading this book and some of the complaints that I do have, you were the one that I was like, Connor's not going to like this book. Will, I was not expecting, but Connor, yes. But Seth, what did you think? Did you hate this book as much as Connor and Will?
So, I think this book shows why some Clone Wars episodes really did need to stay on the cutting room floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yup.
Well,
yeah. Multiple times I messaged this guy and I said, I hate this thing.
Damn.
Yup.
Yes.
Well, I guess, the silver lining is that at least we read it all in one sitting, so we don't have to procrastinate over months. So before we get into the chapter summaries and start nitpicking this, we should cut to our commercial sponsor, Tony.
I have something here for you.
Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
Cerveza Crystal. That was gold.
Too good.
Thank you, Cerveza Crystal. We're not making any money off of that, but we got to laugh. Well, I'm going to break this down into 5 chapters at a time. If it gets a little long-winded, I apologize, but there's just, if you have not read the book and you want to know what we're talking about, it's kind of important. So we will start with Dark Disciple, chapter 1. We open the book, we follow a young, is it Maran? For people who listen to audio book, was Maran? And
I
she,
think so.
she's angry and she's like, I'm going to go mess up some separatists they have this stinger thing. And so she's rushing through this Republic ship as it is being attacked by the separatists. But we get basically a cold cut where Dooku wipes out all of them in a very cold fashion. And the council mourns this loss and begrudgingly decides that Dooku must be killed so that the war ceases, and more specifically assassinated. And so Obi-Wan makes a suggestion. Move on to chapter 2. We find a mysterious dude. He's in some black market shop talking to some Kuravar guy named Sheb Valad, and but unfortunately he's interrupted by his partner, and they are kind of thrown into this chaotic fashion where they're having to deal with these guys, and it's actually Quinlan Voss and his Jedi friend Akar Deshu, and they deal with these dudes, and it is expedited by the summoning of the council. Chapter 3. Quinlan and Desh return to the temple. Quinlan goes to the council and is informed that he is the one that will be assigned to kill Dooku, as he is a master of going undercover. And to do that, he will have to seek out the one who knows Dooku the most, Asajj Ventress. And Kenobi instructs Voss on how to properly win over her trust. Chapter 4. Voss goes to level 1313 to find a lead on Ventress, finding Bosk, Boba, and the rest of their crew in a bar. Boba tips Voss off to a bounty on Pantora. She's going after a Volpi named Moregai, however you say it. Ventress, we cut over to Ventress, who finds and chases her bounty in Pantora, and Quinlan intercepts the bounty at the very last possible second, which there is a visual cinematic of this that actually is out there. Chapter 5, Ventress, in a fit of rage, punches Voss, and the bounty runs off again. She makes chase while Voss periodically keeps popping up, and eventually Ventress loses the bounty, but Voss saves her in the process. That's the first 5 chapters. Yo, oh my gosh.
Quinlan was here.
Voss.
He's always up to something.
Hey,
Wow.
first thing I'm going to say, does this look discreet to you?
Right.
You're a master of disguise and hiding. Hey, when you go to the police station, you go, oh, was there anything? What about his face? Did he have any physical features? Yeah, big yellow line on his face.
Hey, dude, there can be more. You know, he's not a human, right?
Yeah. What's his species called?
Oh, I forget.
But they're all just human with tattoos, though.
Yeah. like Zabrak.
Exactly.
Okay, you make a great point, but yeah. Well,
That's my first thing that we're going to talk about, being that the whole point that he was called was that he is a master of disguise. Literally the entire character. It's almost as if that was like a tongue-in-cheek thing where when you're watching Phantom Menace, how many people go, "Hey, Quinlan Voss!" Like that.
Right.
That's like the whole funny part about his character, that he's sitting there and you see him, and then he's a master of disguise and espionage and hiding. I don't know about that.
well, what did other than I guess the disguise issue? What did everybody else think about this like kind of this opening of this book?
So I could go into my thoughts if nobody else. So
Sure, let's
No, go ahead, take it.
So pumped.
okay. So chapter 1, I actually thought the cold open was pretty good. I liked it. Like I thought that was I wrote down, like, we don't often see a Jedi beg. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to see from I forget the Jedi's name, but the Jedi on the bridge of the ship begging to Count Dooku, like, these are just civilians, like, just let us go. You've won your battle. And then then we get into the stuff that I really don't like right away. And it's every scene with the Jedi Council. They are so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like, inconsistent in this book, and also inconsistent with the characters that we know. Like, what's with Kenobi and Mace Windu? They have beef right away, and they have it the entire book. I wrote down later. It's like Kenobi feels like Qui-Gon Jinn the entire book.
Yep.
Which is nice, but that's not the Kenobi we know. From like, he's always the entire book. He is. Oh, I don't know if this is right. You know, this is, and he's at odds with everybody, or mostly with Windu, I guess. And everybody else on the council, pretty much, other than Yoda, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan, are just caricatures. They just are like, yeah, I agree with Mace. Yeah, I don't know. Mace is the guy. I don't know. Yeah, and they just don't really say anything. It blows my mind that they're going along with all of this stuff the entire time. The entire premise, by the way, of just assassinating Count Dooku. It's weird to me, because on one hand, I don't get why it's a problem, but on the other hand, if it is a problem, then it's weird that they went along with it. You know, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yep.
But
Like,
because there are many times in the book where they're talking about, like, there's one way later, but it's a quip that Obi-Wan makes to Asajj Ventress when they're teamed up later, and he says, when he's fighting her, trying to protect Quinlan, and he's like, "Man, I almost think it was easier fighting you when I was trying to kill you." I'm like, well, okay, so are we not trying to kill? Like, what's the deal? Is it bad to do this? Is it not bad to do this? Is it just that we're trying to launch into an assassination attempt, which is very specific? But if that's the case, there are many times you guys come up against Count Dooku just normally in battle. So it's not like you have to stage an assassination to have the opportunity to kill him. And so that's why I'm like, going through someone they legit do not trust for multiple years. That's one of my, like, we should probably kill this guy. Like, somebody had the idea, you know what? That Dooku guy's not good. You know who we should get? Somebody else we don't like. Yeah. And then Yoda the whole time is so wishy-washy. And I think the writer was trying to be like, Yoda's this wise, sagely, you know, we don't know what's in Yoda's mind, but he's always right. But like, sometimes he's like, yo, let's kill him. But then other times he's like, but I don't know, we should listen to Obi-Wan. I'm like, can you make up your mind, Yoda? Like, what is your deal in this book? So
I'll push back on that, because Yoda doesn't ever at any point in the book say like, oh, we, like, other than the beginning of like, it's all a unanimous thing, and he's like, all right, fine. And then later on, we'll get into it, he's like, we have to consider all options, but he doesn't definitively say they have to kill Dooku. And then in the end,
I know, but he also doesn't say he doesn't say let's not do it either. But
that's in character with Yoda in the prequels, though. Like, that's he's killing clones left and right in Order 66. Like, Yoda,
I get that.
He wants Luke to kill Vader in the original trilogy.
No, hey,
he's
like I said,
you gotta kill him.
The idea of them going after Dooku is not an issue, in my opinion. But the book makes it an issue, and so that's why it's and it makes a lot of inconsistency in the characters. The main thing is just it's the beef between Obi-Wan and Mace Windu. It's like it's right away, and Mace Windu is like, "We got it. Let's kill him. He's out of here."
But that's pretty in character with Mace Windu, though.
It's in character with Mace, but it's not with Obi-Wan. We see in like Revenge of the Sith and
Obi-Wan is always throughout the whole book. He always is respectful to Mace. He's like, with all due, and I'll disagree that he sounds like Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is a kind of a shady dude. Like he's trying to mind trick people and get out of stuff. And Obi-Wan in this is like I do like the entire book. He's like, this is wrong. Like Qui-Gon is more of, I would say,
I think he's doing a more trust the Force thing. But I guess my point is like in Revenge of the Sith, let's just take the example of putting Anakin up to spying on the Chancellor. They know he knows it's wrong too. And there's many times, but Obi-Wan always goes with the will of the council every time with no questioning. He's just like, hey, that's what the council said, so we're going to do that. But this book, the whole time, he's like, guys, I don't know. He actively is.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm so happy you said that because that's the first. So I thought of that multiple times. And then when we'll talk about it later on when we get to the end of the book, but when Yoda's like, I don't trust you yet, but we'll see if you actually do kill Count Dooku. After he does the whole like soul psychometry thing of being able to like see Quinlan's whole past. I thought of that thing with Anakin being the spy on the Chancellor directly. I'm like, if people's argument with Yoda, I've seen it a couple times where like Yoda in Attack of the Clones, it's the whole thing of like a Jedi is for defense, never attack, and like all of Attack of the Clones, he's just like slicing dudes up. It's like, yeah, okay, but there's that thing of like, oh, he learned from his mistake, and that's why he's teaching that in Empire Strike Back. He did this with Quinlan, and it didn't work, and then he does it again with Anakin, and it doesn't work in such a huge way that 6 more movies were made because of it. Like, it's the exact same thing. Like, he just didn't learn that. He's like, oh, you know what? Well, I don't trust you yet, but we'll figure it out.
My problems, and we'll get into it. My problems with the book are definitely in the later half of it with like the Jedi and Quinlan Vos. I'm like, okay, like it could have been cleaned up a bit. But I personally didn't have issues in the beginning. I'm like, they know Ventress is no longer with Dooku. Dooku tried to kill her.
Yeah, I didn't have so much of an issue with that either. I'm with you.
Yeah, I kind of understood. I kind of understood why they went to Asajj, and even Obi-Wan was warning Quinlan like, you can't trust her, so be careful.
Yeah,
but she'll be our best way to get in. So they knew what they were getting into with Asajj. So
Simplin Voss, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
That leads into my second issue with this book. The amount of cringe simping for Asajj,
bro.
Oh, I loved it. It was so funny,
dude. That is what took me out of the book the most. Like when we get into chapter 3 and Kenobi's
like stares at her butt, bro.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It's Kenobi telling Quinlan like, no, you don't get it. She's so hot. Like you don't understand. Like,
and then you gotta tell her she's hot too. That's how you'll get her to work with you.
I'm like, dude, I could just hear like the teen drama, like the music from the Spider-Man Homecoming
Riverdale
trailer was playing in my mind. I'm like, gosh, this is so cringe.
When she like grappling repels on Mustafar, and then Quinlan does the exact same thing, and he's like, oh, what was I supposed to do? Kiss her in midair? And then he's like, wait, I got to go back to the mission. It's like, why do I? That's not a thought.
I did think about that. Yeah, he's like mad. He's like, oh my gosh, what do you think? I was gonna kiss her or something?
Yeah.
Real quick, shout out to Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars. Appreciate you, my guy. If you guys aren't subscribed to him, go check him out. This man is killing it. $5 for 5 great Star Wars legends. What's up, boys? Love to talk about this book. Can't wait for Asajj in Bad Batch. Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much, my guy. Let's go.
I'll agree with that. I still am excited for Asajj in Bad Batch after this book.
Yeah, me too. No, don't get me wrong. Here, I will say one thing. Asajj was the best part about this book.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It sucks too.
And Boba Fett.
For me,
and Boba
Fett.
Ooh, so after reading,
I already mentioned Boba, so go ahead.
The
Seth had
couple
something
parts
he wanted
of
to say.
Boba,
He's too sheepish here.
Oh,
Right?
like quick comment. Sorry, who's read
No, you're
X-Men?
good.
Who's read X-Men? Anybody?
Oh, I mean, I
watched an
it.
X-Men cartoon. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Maybe seen X-Men Origins Wolverine. Anybody? Come on, raise your hand. Anything?
I'm not next, my guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Quinlan Voss is Gambit.
Yeah.
Yup. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So is
Steady.
Ventress Rogue?
I guess so. That thing he
In a
can't
way.
touch or shouldn't touch. It's just like when I'm reading it, I'm like, wow, like they're like he's so cool and edgy, and you're never gonna be able to beat it. It's like snore. No.
Yep.
Dude, I think Quinlan Voss, and like since we're sticking to the earlier portion of this book, and I guess I'll right after this I'll get into the next couple chapters. But like I was like, oh, Quinlan Voss is really cool. Like I actually because he's not really in
He's just
Clone
like
Wars.
me.
Say what?
He's just like me. He's cool.
I'm literally Quinlan Voss. No, like, no, I was like, he's cool. Like, he kind of feels like a video game protagonist in a way. Like, that's what where I'm like, he would make a good video game character, like from the 90s. But I'm like, you know what? I'm getting, I like the purpose that he serves and everything. But then it's like, as the book goes on, especially towards the end, I'm like, dude, Quinlan Voss, you suck, bro. Like,
I am very much in the anti-Quinlan Voss camp.
Listen, they could bring it back for me if he does show up in Bad Batch.
Get him out of here.
Dude.
You want him to come back? What's he gonna do? Oh, Asajj, I missed you.
You got to do it in a French accent, like.
I just for the people at home who haven't read this, I just have to read this. So if people don't believe me that Kenobi was talking about how hot Asajj was in chapter 3,
can you do it in a Kenobi accent?
Asajj No, I can't.
Oh.
Asajj
You had it.
Ventress is highly
Good.
intelligent.
That was good.
Asajj Ventress is highly intelligent and doesn't suffer fools gladly. Skill and competence impress her, Kenobi hesitated. She's also a very striking woman, physically. It might tip her off if you don't notice her. And she likes to trade barbs. I mean, come on, man. Like, that's...
And then it goes on, and it's like, it's something where Quinlan's like, flirt like a Jedi. I've obviously had to flirt before, but for real, or something like that, where they like specifically talk about flirting. It's like,
I know. Like, I could buy into Quinlan. Like, it's a little cringe when he's flirting with her, but I'm like, whatever. But like, this is my man, Obi-Wan.
I mean,
like, what are you talking about?
But he does flirt with her in Clone Wars.
I get that, but to like have this teen drama thing where you're sitting across the lunch table with, you know, your bro, like being like, but dude, no.
I mean, the way I will say, the way I didn't have a problem with that scene. The way I read that scene was like, he's kind of uncomfortable having to tell her, like, or tell him this, because he's like, this is like awkward, you know, but it's true. Like, Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars, I could hear James Arnold Taylor saying that. I was like, yeah, I mean, he makes a good point. That's how Ventress is. She kisses a clone after she kills him, for God's sake.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Asajj, that is her character. It's just, I can't picture Obi-Wan in this scenario doing that.
In Legends too.
Yeah.
They kind of had a thing for each other. In the old
Clone
that's
Wars, weird. You told me about that.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I maybe this is all, you know, all subjective. I did not read that scene as Obi-Wan being like, she's so hot. Like, he's just like, I think
he says she is striking physically.
Yeah, I mean,
not even just striking, but striking physically.
He goes to the lengths to say it. That's what I'm saying.
But
he doesn't just say like, hey man, like she likes to.
But there's a lot of hesitation in his voice. He's having to like gulp this down of like, this is true. This is how you get to her. She likes to be noticed, right?
Yeah. I
don't think he's saying it in a like a, you know, like I think he's saying it in like
it's just, yeah, man. I don't know, man. The way it was written for me, it was just.
I think like, it's written like that for Quinlan, but for like. For me,
it just feels weird.
For me, Obi-Wan was my second favorite part of this book. To me,
he's
felt
great.
Like Obi-Wan.
Other than that, he's great. I will agree. He's good towards the end. I think he's a little inconsistent, but
yeah,
I will say,
valid.
Like Connor, to your point, at least for me, what threw me off about Obi-Wan doing that is I can see him doing like the sarcastic Obi-Wan quips. Like in a battle with Asajj and then bantering back and forth while they're lightsaber dueling, like in the Clone Wars movie. Like that's what I get. Like, oh, this is a quick one. Like just little quips back and forth. But for him to use it not only as like a she's pretty cute, like
Right? Thank you.
Quinlan Boss
Thank
about
you.
that, but then also try and pin it off like, but it's just for strategy. It's just for strategy. Like, you need to know this so you can beat her. That's a weird strategy thing. Like, that doesn't help him. He's just like showing off.
Yes, and that is how it is written. It's written with the don't ... notice her. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not that, because I see people in the chat here talking about Satine. Of course, like, I know that this is all stuff with Obi-Wan's character, but he's more of like a regal, he's like a romantic type. But just to be sitting in a bar being like, yo, this Sith, she's got it going on, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta
And with Satine, there was almost like he was
love.
where he was aware that he could not, but even though, and every time Satine would try and make a move, he would be like, I want to, but I can't, sort of deal. Here, he's just like, hey, you know what? If I could, I would, brother. Like, it's a weird difference in almost morals for him in terms of that with like the Jedi. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's so strange.
Yeah, it's just weird coming from Obi-Wan. That's my whole point. That's
fair.
That part in the audiobook, that's when I switched back to the book, was when they got like, initially they did all of this and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Count Dooku, like, he's taking down this whole race, like, oh, this is awesome. And then it gets to this and I was like, I'm not listening to this anymore. And I switched. I was like, I don't want to hear this in my headphones.
Yeah, I think that who listened versus who read.
I was audio
100%.
100% audio.
What did you say, Seth?
I listened.
You listened as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so I listened to maybe like 2 chapters, and for those 2 chapters that I liked, it was the ones where they were going after the bounty, and I liked those, but the rest of it I read, so you kind of can put your own inflection on it in that way. But I guess
maybe there's a little bit of that too.
Yeah, but if you listen to it, then like, that's valid, like if that's the way it's coming across, and it's kind of like, but
it was hard listening to it first and then having that like voice in my head for every other time there were interactions like that throughout the book, was because that was pre-established. It wasn't like, oh, this is what it sounds like in my head. Now I get the audiobook. The audiobook set the standards, and that's how I heard it for the rest of the time I was reading it.
Mm-hmm. That's valid. Well, I'll go and transition to chapters 6 through 10. So chapter 6, they after they kind of fumble this bounty temporarily, Quinlan follows Ventress to a bar. She's like very frustrated. And after some banter, and then Kenobi ends up calling Quinlan very quickly. He uses his psychometry ability on an armor plating piece that Ventress took from the bounty, and discovers that he's still on the planet with his Rhodian wife and child. And so Quinlan uses that to kind of find the street, and they go after him and go to his door and bust it open. And then we go to chapter 7, where they find before I keep going back and forth, is it Moregi or Moragai?
I think it's Moragai, but
I think it's Moragai. Yeah.
Okay, so they find Moragai in his apartment with both his wife and his child, and he begs not to be taken. And he did what he needed to do for his family, and so he pleads like innocence, blah blah blah. So then eventually he just attacks Quinlan and jumps out the window because they're not backing down. And so they work together and corner him, and Ventress reveals her new yellow lightsaber. By the way, I have some weird lightsaber continuity errors with this book because it is all over the place. It's towards the end because I'm like, it's weird. It bothers me.
Okay, I think I might know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So they bring Moragai to Asajj's ship, the Banshee, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys have looked up what the Banshee actually looks like, because it's out there if somebody wants to pull it. It's a cool looking ship. I'm a big fan of it. This is when Quinlan stares at her butt. And then after some admiration and flirting, Ventress hesitantly accepts to become partners. I've got I could pull it up here real quick.
I got it right here.
You got it, brother?
Banshee?
Yeah, that's the Banshee, man.
That was cool.
Pretty cool looking
Star Wars X-Wing ship.
Is it? Oh, is it? Do they have a little miniature thing for it?
I think so. Right there in the center. It looked like, or at least it has a similar.
Right here?
Down one more. Down one more.
Oh, I see it.
Oh, yeah,
that looks like a slightly different ship.
Oops.
Oh no, I see it to the left of
it's something that has a very similar, like,
There
I
it
know I've
is.
seen,
Yeah.
yes, that I was going to say that is,
Lancer.
I've seen that shape before.
It's a
So
cool looking
it actually,
ship.
yeah, the normal one, it's the bottom left. That's yellow and black.
Yeah, that must be the unpainted version.
Yeah,
that
that's
Lancer
like
class.
that's the.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Based off Doug Chang's Republic gunship.
Oh, really?
Oh, so it was an unused Republic gunship design. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I
Nice.
guess because this was revealed, so the concept art was revealed when they did all the animatics that were revealed at that one Star Wars celebration where they were like, "Oh, this is what would have happened if it was good," and then they showed the concept art. But I guess this was based off of a Republic gunship that Doug Chang decided not to use, so it was just laying around somewhere, and they were like, "Oh, what about this ship?"
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love when they do that stuff like that. So anyway, chapter 8, they become partners at the end of chapter 7. After Quinlan's like, please, and then they go to chapter 8, and they're starting to run missions together. And so Ventress starts forcing Voss to train more, and he does so without using the Force to not reveal his true identity. And so they go through a bunch of missions, 5 missions exactly, and they begin to become more comfortable in their relationship as partners. And they start to celebrate after a very successful job from this one pirate named like Lassa Rame, I believe, and kind of get to know one another. And so they kind of talk about their personal life stories. Voss feeling like he has no story, and Ventress feeling like hers is nothing but unhappiness. And then they both go to bed.
Hey.
It's separate beds.
Yeah, separate beds.
Oh,
Like
Voss.
Bert and Ernie.
Yeah.
Yes. Bunk beds.
Voss also says in this moment, I didn't have this in my notes, but he's like, he was faking being drunk because he's used to doing this, and then he's like, but there was some truth to it, like he doesn't really have a story, which is kind of a weird meta joke because it's like he doesn't really like there's no stories with him in canon except this.
Well, he fights Cad Bane that one time, right?
Yeah, but like, is that like is there a story arc for him in that episode? Not really.
I don't know.
He just kind of
You
goes,
like him.
He's your favorite Jedi, Grayson.
I didn't say that.
He's
Look
your
at
guy.
That's my guy. All right.
Yeah.
That's a well-written character right there.
Quinlan's a
he's
good
you.
wingman.
Anyway, chapter 9, Voss meets with Kenobi. They kind of have these regular meetings.
In
and
1313.
1313
every time. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And a cool
You
little
said the
thing is that Kenobi is wearing his bounty hunter armor from when he pretended to be Reiko Hardeen. They make a note that he's been using his. So he's got like and I think he does that at one point in the Clone Wars, but he's wearing that and he just kind of has like a cloak on. So
I think
he just kind of kept that laying around, which is pretty cool. And so Kenobi is like, you got to keep moving forward with the mission. Like there's got to be some progress to this. And so Voss is growing conflicted. And so then Ventress and Voss go to a job for the Pikes on Obadiah. And Black Sun is attempting to make a move on the Pikes. So they kidnapped their leaders, their leader Marg Krim's family as ransom. And so they're sent to bring them back alive. So they go to Mustafar, where in chapter 10, where they get they go to a local bar called the Last Resort. They find some of a Black Sun guard, and they double team this guy, get the information, and figure out where the Pikes are being held at. So that's the end of chapter 10.
Was it kind of weird that she couldn't sense that he was Force sensitive? Like how for the longest he was kind of like not using it. Like shouldn't she have been able to like sense that in him a little bit?
Doesn't
Well,
she
later
end up
on,
knowing?
yeah, she does. Later on, she says like,
Later
"I've always
on.
known."
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
She's like,
Gotcha.
the way you make, like you land and your gracefulness and your accuracy, like I obviously know you're a Jedi.
The way you
Figured
do
it out after a
one-handed
while.
upside down push-ups.
Just like so 80s and 90s, bro. Like Quinlan Voss is a like he's a 90s action movie character.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's exact, and that's where I'm like, I like him up to a certain point, and then when there's a certain point in the book where like that happens, and I'm like, I don't like him anymore. But yeah, I mean, I like this stuff. I like that they're running bounties together and they're kind of starting to get to know each other a little bit more. Going to Mustafar, where Black Sun is at, is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, nothing super. I like the way that they handle this Faline guard. Like she has this kind of seduction routine, which is very in line with Ventress.
In the 90s and 80s action movies.
Yeah. There's one where it's just flirting and one where they call it like the full-on gambit.
Hey,
right.
Confirmed.
And cool, just like you.
Why are you roasting me, bro?
You said it.
What did I say? I just said that I like him in the first half of the book.
Do you know what one of my favorite things about this is, though? Just to side topic this, when we were deciding what book to read, Grayson was like, "Should we really read this book next?" And we were all like, "Yeah, we can read this book next." And he's the only one like still hanging on. And we're all just ragging on it.
No, I enjoyed it.
Love it.
I think I'm right there with you, Grayson. Me, you, and Quinlan. We're going to go to the bar after this and pick up some girls.
Dude, I would love to. Wait, the bar.
Kenobi will be there.
I think it's time for another sponsor break.
I have something here for you.
Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
Thank you, Cerveza Cristal. It's very good. We will be going to the bar after this to get some.
Yes.
But yeah, I have nothing to say about this. It's cool that they're running bounties. I don't have any issues with this part of the book. I did find it the meta joke of Voss being like quite literally not having a character arc in canon, because he's pretty prevalent in Legends, right? Is that true? Yeah.
In the comics, in the Dark Horse comics.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I mostly know him from. But like the only other appearance other than this book is his mention in Kenobi and then the arc in Clone Wars.
And real talk, like before this, wasn't he just a background character of Phantom Menace? And George Lucas was like, "I like the look of that guy. Let's make him something about him, right?"
100%. Yeah. Okay. I never noticed him ever in Phantom Menace.
He's literally, I think he's in the scene where Sebulba's like flipping out, like choking Jar Jar. He's just like
background. Yep. Just sitting there.
Quinlan Balls.
Yep.
Real quick before we go too far forward, wanted to shout out Spencer there, new member. Thanks for being a member, Spencer.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Dude,
appreciate all you guys in the chat.
Cerveza Cristal on you, bro.
Yes.
Spencer and I go way back.
Oh, yeah?
Fun fact.
Oh,
yes.
nice.
Yes.
Oh, look what Will
Spencer,
imported.
So, yeah.
Is Spencer one of your friends, Seth?
Spencer is one of my friends. He's one of my oldest friends.
Let's go.
Yes.
Hey,
Spencer and I, we have been to I met him shortly after Revenge of the Sith. Been friends
that's
ever
awesome.
since.
I like how that's how we chart our lives.
Just when the movies come out.
Yep.
See, how old was I? It was when I was last Jedi years old.
Jedi years old.
That's good. Yeah.
That's cool though. He was a cunning warrior.
Thanks for being here, Spence.
This section is fine, I guess. I really like. I actually the section after this, like the middle of the book, I actually think is okay.
One question, sorry, Spencer. I'm sorry. He just said so to the last Harry Potter movie. He dressed up as Obi-Wan.
Why?
Because he's like, I'm the old wizard that lives out beyond the Dune Sea. Because I dressed up as
That's
awesome.
Yeah,
that's
so there's pictures of us fighting where I'm dressed up as a Slytherin and he's Obi-Wan Kenobi and we're fighting each other.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
So
okay.
yeah,
that's awesome.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Yeah, if anybody has any other notes, I'll go ahead and do the next 5 chapters.
I do have one thing I want to say about Quinlan. Because I don't like Quinlan, but
I'll say this about him.
He's got stupid hair.
So I just feel like set up for the rest of the book.
Stupid face.
Something that drives me nuts about. I think this writer does an okay job for most of the book with a lot of the characters, but one thing that I do not like that happens very frequently, and I think it's very often in this section, she keeps reintroducing the characters in an
Enigmatic.
in a mysterious way. I can't say it. I still can't say
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But the first time we meet Quinlan in chapter 2, it's like, oh, he's this, this muscular man with the long hair and this distinct yellow tattoo. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We haven't met the character yet, so we get a little introduction. Nice. But then she keeps doing it. Like later
In
on
the
in the book.
bathroom, when he drops, she does it specifically there when he turns around. Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, we know who Quinlan is. Can you just say, like, we don't need. I get it. Like, you're trying to have a cinematic sort of reveal of a character again in a book where you've already introduced the character, but it just comes across awkward in written form where, like, you're reintroducing your characters in this in this rather more descript way than just saying their name. Like, she does it with Asajj too. Like, the woman with the short blonde hair entered the room, and it's like, boy, who could that be?
Okay.
There's only 2 characters in this scene.
I know, and so I feel. So I wanted to mention that because that happens very frequently, and it does grate me, and it's just something that really took me out of the experience. Go ahead.
Nothing. I just can't get over. I joked around about bunk beds earlier, and I've had it in my head that they have bunk beds, and it's just like, and I could just imagine Quinlan be like, Asajj, how about you come go on the bottom bunk with me tonight? And she's like, fine. Like, I can't. I'm sorry. I've been laughing about
that.
That's kind of how he sounds in the audiobook. Yeah,
dude. I'll go ahead and say this, and I made this joke in our group chat. Like, Cole and I have always joked that, like, if Quinlan Vos was actually in live action, he'd be played by, like, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, 100%. Where he's just like, hey, Obi-Wan, like, permission to come aboard. Like, like, they look exactly alike. Of, like, the Quinlan Vos I want is Duncan Idaho. The one we got is Aquaman, like.
He's just so, I don't know. He feels out of place in Star Wars. Maybe that's just me, but he just is like, he feels like an MCU character most of the time, where he's just, he's like so dude bro.
He's such an oxymoron. Where it's like, he's this Jedi master, but he's like this super spy. And it's like, wait, he gets to break all these rules to be a super spy?
He's the one guy who's allowed to not do anything Jedi.
Yeah. And then he
doesn't even act like a Jedi master. Like, you're like, is this guy a Jedi master?
I know, it's weird. And then it's like his most important mission ever. Well, I'm just gonna fall in love with her.
Yeah.
I had to. You looked at her, bro?
Kenobi's like, I have.
Kenobi's in the corner just going like this. It's just like, I don't get it.
Dude, I just want to say the stark contrast between our Plagueis analysis versus this like book is so funny.
I told Seth this after we read it. I was like, it is a good thing we started with Plagueis, because if we started with this book, I might have been like, guys, I really enjoy hanging out with you guys, but maybe Star Wars book is not for me.
Listen, they can't all be 100%.
And that's what I told Seth that too. Is like, they can't all be winners. And hey, I'm sure there are people out here that really love this book.
Are you guys familiar with the website Utini?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I went through there when we were planning Tales from the Archives, right? And looking at books to see kind of what we should prioritize and things like that. And I was going there, and this one they have, like, ratings and stuff collectively. And this one is one of the handful that is dubbed as masterpiece.
Oh.
And I remember I was like, I can pull it up.
People were mad when they thought it was getting retconned for.
I know. Hey,
her commercial came out.
They did.
People were mad.
And you guys Goodreads? I did. Have you guys ever been to Goodreads? It's kind of like Rotten Tomatoes. It's weird because, like, the reviews for this book are either you love it or you absolutely hate it. There is no, like, in between. It's really interesting. Yeah.
I think really, if you're not a lore nut, which we all are, then you probably like this book a lot more. Maybe because a lot of my issues with it are the inconsistencies. That's my biggest problems. Like, you take out a lot of those. Like, honestly, you take you take out the Jedi Council scenes and you make Quinlan Voss a Jedi Knight rather than a Jedi Master.
Yep.
Half of my problems are probably gone from this book.
For me, and we'll get to it later, my problems with the book are how the back and forth later on that Quinlan goes through is so annoying to me. Where I'm like, they did it way so this was supposed to be 8 episodes of the Clone Wars, and if it
Could
was
you
me,
imagine that? Watching
For
that weekly
8 episodes?
for me,
of
I'm
going
like, this
back and
is
forth.
too much.
I love you. I hate
Thank
you.
the
I love you,
maker.
I hate you.
Think of
I'm
the
with you,
memes that
Grayson,
would be
but,
used
yeah.
now of Obi-Wan saying, she's striking.
Honestly, I would love that scene. I think that would be kind of hilarious, but like in the context of the book, it's really funny. But yeah, I think this would easily this is more like a 4-episode arc, really. Like you got to cut out a lot of that later. Because there's a point where I was like, oh, we're getting towards like the kind of the crux, or like the turning point of this book, and then it just kept going, and I was like,
it did, right? Yeah.
I was like, there's like 100 pages, like. But anyway, well, let's go ahead and
Yeah,
we'll
let's
get
do
to
that
that stuff.
Let's do that.
Keep going.
I got
Yeah.
some thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the next 5 chapters with chapter 11. They make their way into the fortress. I'm not going to get all the nitty gritty, but they find the children, Vram and is it Lali, but not their mother. So the failing that they alerted earlier gets to the guard. And so they make a quick escape with the kids. And Voss is shot, but uses the force to save himself and Vram. And they get away from the fortress. But Ventress, here's a moment that is a little cringe. It's a little cringe, bro. Ventress tends to Voss's wounds, and they exchange a very romantic moment. Connor, write that down. Write that down.
Really? See, I a little spoiler alert. I actually kind of liked that.
Really?
I wrote down in my notes. I'll just read it word for word. I wrote down. Oh my gosh, my notes not working. I said the whole Ventress tending Quinlan's wounds thing is the first time this seems genuine and not cringe.
It's fair.
That's what I wrote.
I think the only thing we'll get to in a second. But Voss uses his psychometry right after this on the children's locket and find the location of their mom. So going to chapter 12, the protagonists return to the fortress, keeping the kids in the ship. Ventress, it's kind of a weird plan. Ventress pretends to be an envoy as a distraction for Zaitan Moj, while Voss follows Zaitan's aid. They deal with Black Sun, they get away, and they get the mother, but it's kind of awkward between the duo. And then they return the family and get paid, like they get their bag. And then as they leave, Black Sun ships come into orbit, and it presumably that they're all dead. And so the Banshee blitzes away, and on this remote planet, Voss and Ventress drink, and the guilt causes Voss to reveal himself as a Jedi. Chapter 13, but Asajj already knows he's a Jedi, and Voss further reveals that he needs her to kill Dooku, and she's okay with that, but Voss must forgo his ways as a Jedi. Voss meets with Kenobi again for an update. The latter is apprehensive of Voss's trust in Ventress, but he lets it be. So Ventress brings Quinlan to Dathomir for training. They start sharing deeper personal stories. Ventress tells of her past while she kills this snake. And then Quinlan reveals the loss of his master. Is it Thulp? Tome. Yeah.
Who was originally a Purge survivor in Legends before they switched it to this.
I was about to say he was in. I looked him up and I was like, oh, that's a Dark Horse character too.
Yep.
And so he reveals the loss of his master, and Ventress lies about the nature of his master's death, saying that Dooku did it, but in reality, it was Ventress that did it, which I do like this plot beat a lot, but I'll get to it later.
I agree.
And in this frenzy of emotion, they kiss. Kind of weird. They're like, he's all like angry and stuff, and then they go, chapter 14. Voss is becoming more steeped in his feelings and emotions, understanding the temptation of it. Ventress trains him like a night sister would be trained. She takes him to the mouth of her village in the mountain. As they return to camp, Ventress attempts for Voss to control and kill a snake as she did earlier, but he failed and is bitten, going into shock. And then finally with chapter 15, he awakens from these horrible nightmares from this poison of the snake, and Ventress immediately tests him in this like weird lightsaber fight where she brings out his anger in a duel and then leads him into the village that they had not actually fully gone into earlier in the mountain. Voss is led to an abandoned village where she's from, and these pools of water. And after their skirmish, Ventress seizes her test and informs Voss that they must train to awaken an ancient being called the Sleeper, using the dark side to be able to harvest it. That they use to harvest the water of life. Will hates this book. I know he does. Bro. Go ahead, Seth.
Hey, Seth.
So, in Bad Batch Season 3, in the trailer, did you notice Asajj Ventress' shoulder pad?
Yeah.
It's got that black snake on it. So I think that's kind of cool.
Oh.
So that's kind of cool.
I will say she does have the snake in Clone Wars as well, which I think is still a good connection. But I looked it up, and I think it's when she wears like the all black outfit, she has that. But I think that's a very cool like signifier of that whole thing. But yeah, what do we guys?
The concept art that they were going to use for these arcs, she has that pauldron as well. Of the snake eating itself kind of round snake thingy that's on the shoulder.
Spiral snake.
Yeah, snake.
Snake is snake.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do we think of the chapter 11 through 15?
I liked this part. I got to this part and I was like, okay, I don't love it. I don't love all of it, but I was like, all right, maybe just we had a rocky start. But I thought the romance actually started to work a little bit here. I think I'm an old school guy. I'm a traditional man. I think it's because their relationship starts very physically oriented in the beginning, and then it kind of gets into the more emotional. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea, like the tending to the wounds. That's very old school type of, movie. And
Indiana Jones,
they just barely touch, and then that's what kind of sparks this. I thought that was really well written, but it kind of loses a little bit for me because we get all this stuff about him staring at her butt and like talking about mixing business with pleasure and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, it kind of loses a little bit of its luster. I get it.
Yeah.
Sure, that's how these characters act. I know. Like I said, that's just my own biased opinion.
Yeah.
But I do think the romance works a little bit better in these sections. I do like a lot of kind of what's going on. A couple of my issues, though, I don't understand how Voss is so easily swayed. I get how he can fall into a romantic entanglement. Sure. We've seen that a few times. We've seen even the best of the Jedi, like Kenobi and Satine. Like, all right, I could buy into that. But how is he so easily swayed to the dark side? And also, how long has he been on this mission? Isn't it kind of important that they go assassinate Dooku?
He's taking a while.
These things take time, Kenobi.
So that's part of my thing. It's just
you gotta study your opponent.
Yeah,
it just takes so long.
Yeah,
I did like
it does. They say after like this, like, there's chapters that open. They're like months have passed, and you're like, oh my gosh, bro, this book takes place like a year.
How many times do they get in a fight with Dooku? Like, how many times?
Oh, a lot.
I just don't get why this mission was even necessary. And it keeps reminding me that, like, if it was so urgent, why are we taking all these side quests?
I get why it was urgent. Like, and I like the way that they go about it of going more like covert ops, because they fight Dooku a lot in head-on-head fights, and he always escapes because he has to, because he doesn't die until episode 3. I like that they're trying to go more covert, like Ventress would know where he's at and all of that. But ultimately at the end, it doesn't really pay off anyway. But yeah, with this, like these chapters, like I enjoyed it. I thought it was very like, I thought it was weird that Ventress was like, oh, Dooku killed your master. And then he's like, I'm angry. And then they kiss and you're like, okay.
It's pretty jarring. It's like, there's just a cacophony emotions going on, and it's like, okay,
and I'm like, sure, but I do like that he's on, like, they're on Dathomir, and she's like, you're not ready to take Dooku, like, you need to be hardened.
So the Dathomir stuff, I loved when they were there, because like you could slowly see her trying to like turn him to the dark side. But the audiobook, so for chapter 13, when she's talking to him about like her past and her Night Sisters, Anakin's Dark Deeds is playing. So I'm like in the zone, like, oh man. So I'm already loving it because of the music.
Yeah.
And then she's talking about how they preserve the fallen, they put them in a pod to preserve their bodies, like that's their ceremony. So all that stuff was interesting for sure.
That's how she's gonna come back for Bad Batch, is my guess.
Yes. And the minute I heard that, I'm like, oh, so it's slowly starting to make sense, especially because of what I heard happen at the end, and then hearing the ending, it's all like coming together. But yeah, Anakin's Dark Deeds, man. Anytime you play that, I'm a sucker for it, man. It got me.
Yeah.
Will?
Hey, do you want to know what my least favorite part of all of this was? And maybe I'm just a no nonsense, not understanding Star Wars biology fan, but why was the whole thing about needing masks established on Mustafar? Like that when you're on Mustafar, you need
the Mustafarians.
But like she says, she's like, oh, I wish I brought my mask because
COVID.
After a certain amount of hours, I need it. You would need it, and the fumes from being down there will affect you.
Yeah.
Hey, the entire battle in Revenge of the Sith takes place, and they don't wear those masks. Okay, Seth.
What?
This is where I'm probably saying that my biology knowledge of Star Wars is going to come into play.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What about when the shields protect them from that? That like you remember that like Anakin Obi-Wan accidentally knocked down the shields, so they're really not in the lava for that long.
And they also say you don't need them if you're only
You
there
don't
for
need
a
them.
couple hours.
Yeah, if you're there for a small amount of time and you're not like out in it for,
mean,
you only
Anakin
need them
was
if you're out in
probably
it for a
there a
long time.
That's
they
what
say
I'm
that
saying.
right after.
Is the Anakin being there for a long time? But I guess he might have also been in that base, just pacing around, slicing up dudes.
Yeah,
I'm say like he's not outside a whole lot of the
right?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't
know.
with Will,
I
though.
just-
It feels like a weird setup for no payoff.
Yeah.
Like, what was it just a world building thing, or like why did
And
they?
Well, you
never
can do
really
the-
see
You
them.
got to see the fleas though, because we see them in the teaser
lava
trailer
fleas?
for episode 3.
Oh,
You see, yeah,
Yeah.
right before Palpatine goes,
Oh.
rise. You see the fleas walking, and they got cut from the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of cool that they're here.
Yeah,
That's-
I just think that it's a strange thing where like you don't see anybody wearing them other than these
Background.
scenes in this book. Like it would be a different thing if like, and I get the whole timing thing where I guess Anakin and Obi-Wan fought for the exact amount of time that you wouldn't need a breathalyzer.
Yeah, it's just 13 minutes.
Yeah, whatever. They just happened to
13
fight for
minutes,
the
13
exact amount of
seconds.
time. They knew it through the Force. They didn't need him. That's when he diced him up because he was like, "Oh, I'm probably going to not be able to breathe soon." But like, even like Palpatine landing to like get Anakin off of Mustafar. I know it's
He's
a short amount of time,
alive.
but like taking off a breathalyzer to be like, okay, now I'm going to get him. I don't know. It's just a weird setup thing for like why.
I think she only says that line specifically because she's like, I don't know how long I'll be here, but I'm like, we won't be here that long, so it's fine, you know. Like, and she does mention at one point that she's like her eyes are starting to sting from it and everything, like because they've been there for a few
That's true.
hours, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did think
So
about that.
I wasn't bothered by it.
I don't know. I was like, it's just an extra thing. Like on Camino, like they need like, oh, if you're this close to the water, you need this type of sunscreen. After 5 hours, it's just like a weird like extra thing that they
Dimension,
added. I don't
sure.
know. It was kind
Yeah.
of strange to me.
Just mask up, Will. Mask up. You'll be fine.
yeah, I guess.
So I had a kind of a fun lore thing
Mhm.
that something. So in chapter 13, Asajj tells Quinlan, "As I warned you, to defeat Dooku, we cannot do things the Jedi way." And I liked that,
Good voice.
and that's just the Mark Thompson. Like I just was listening.
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
him.
that's how he sounds. Yeah.
That's funny. I listened to a little bit with my wife yesterday, and she was like, "Why does Asajj sound like Crosshair?" I'm like, "Because Mark can't just treat." I said, "Mark is doing his best." Okay.
Like he's just one man.
But anyway, I was thinking about this. I was like, to defeat Dooku, we cannot do things the Jedi way. So this whole training is like, in order to defeat Dooku, you have to succumb to the dark side. And ultimately, she's kind of right. Like Anakin does do that, right, to defeat him. So in canon, in everything that we see, excluding maybe Old Republic and stuff, because I know it's not technically canon, but I don't know much about Old Republic lore. Is Vader killing Palpatine the only time we see someone killing a Sith not using or tapping into the dark side? because Obi-Wan clearly kind of taps into it a bit with Maul.
With
And
Darth
it
Maul,
definitely does with Dooku.
but what about Maul in Rebels? Obi-Wan killed him in Rebels.
That's what I thought you were just thinking of.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Great
I
point.
also
No,
don't
I was
think
genuinely asking because I couldn't think of anything else. But that's a great call.
I've always viewed, and from descriptions I've seen in the Phantom Menace, that Obi-Wan, he's just focused. He's not going. I mean, well, there is he starts to kind of get a little bit, but then he like refocuses himself when he's on the ledge, and when he kills him, that's just he's not tapping into the dark side there. That's just pure in the Force efficiency, from what I know.
So? I've always looked at it.
I
like
think
he like just a
he's
little.
angry.
He's
lost his
flirting with
master.
it because you know Kenobi. He loves flirting.
I
so
think
doing
when
that
he's
a
sitting
little
behind the
dark side.
laser gate and he's going at it like that, I think that starts out. I think when he falls down, he's like,
that's when he centers himself and he's able to actually finish the job.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's how I've because you can definitely see right before he's mad.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I guess.
Baseball
I
bat
think-
swinging when he comes into it initially.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
Dream.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I mean, other than that moment.
Well, I never really
like
considered. I didn't think about Kenobi v Maul and Rebels. That's a great call. Like that's another time where that's definitely a.
I would say Kanan versus when he kills the Grand Inquisitor. That's just him being. He's just not afraid. He even says,
but he's not a Sith though.
He fell.
I'm thinking more like Sith.
He let go. He's like,
oh my gosh.
Okay.
I guess there's really not that many to choose from though in canon, like
Yeah.
death like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair, okay,
would
dumb
say-
discussion. Fair enough. I'm sorry.
My last
No, I
example
like
is-
it.
I would say
I like it.
she doesn't win, but never. I'm not bringing that up because I know you guys don't like that, so never mind.
Who, Riva?
Now I want to know.
No, Connor and I, we can deal with this in the DMs or something. I was gonna say with Seer and Vader when she's one of the only Jedi that dude peak.
He's dead.
Absolutely peak.
I like the
Dude,
fight. I just don't think she should have gotten the upper hand on him. That's all.
At all.
I think
erroneous.
I'm gonna say this is the last thing I'm gonna say. That was the same year that he also dealt with Kenobi. He was down on his luck. All right, I'm just saying,
Brother,
And-
that's Kenobi.
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm saying he's still reeling from that. And Seer is one
If
of the
anything,
only
he's more
Jedi.
hyped up on we got to get some of these guys.
Oh, you're Darth Vader now?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I mean,
Still, I'm a
Just
firm
saying.
believer that if there's only been a handful of Jedi that have never in certain fights like been completely unafraid, and that's like
hey,
that's Seer and Kanan are two of those. But
Shout out to Gab. Yeah,
Gabby, yes.
Gabby about books. I love this book discussion club. I'm going to have to come back and watch the replay, but wanted to let you guys know this is awesome. Thanks for the work. Thank you for the $10 super chat.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Gabby.
you.
Glad
We
to see you in
hope,
here. Hope you're
we
enjoying
hope-
the discussion, even though we're like totally trashing on this.
Yeah. If you were excited about reading it, maybe wait till after you read it.
yeah, that's a good idea. But yeah, I think it's cool that Ventress is like trying, like she knows that Voss is like, he's not, he's a little bit shadier, but he's not like, he's never done anything like this, and so she's got to prep him with this snake test and now killing this ancient being, the sleeper, which we get to later, I think is pretty cool. But I mean, other than that, like it's just them piddling around on Dathomir, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Will.
I have so many end of book questions for the group that I'm going to save for when we finish this.
Well, I'll try to make it snappy. If maybe I can go through the next like 10 or something.
So I don't have any thoughts on the next 5.
Yeah, I don't have much thoughts to the end, really.
Yeah.
Well, he fights the sleeper. Do you not have any thoughts on that? Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, just go through the next 5 and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to, because I want to get a recap for people who have not listened. So I'd be happy to just go through and go to the end if we want. So where did I leave off? The sleeper thing. Okay.
We're on 15.
Chapter 16. They make a plan. Ventress explains what she knows. The sleeper has no defined look from what they know and resides in Dathomir's underwater. Sorry?
It's a Bogart from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It takes all your like, yeah. It's Professor Snape.
I do think
aunt. Sorry.
I do think the only reason they said that is it doesn't take any shape. It's just because it was so dark down there that the Night Sisters weren't able to get a good look at it, and then finally Voss is the one. But yeah, they do imply that it's like, oh, it's a boggart. It is. Quinlan Voss is like, oh, Mace Windu. Please don't execute me. Sorry. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Yeah, if you come into contact with the substance that the Night Sisters harvest, hallucinations occur. It doesn't matter anyway. Voss decides that after they defeat Dooku, they'll be together and he will renounce the order. Simp. Shortly after, an informant tells them that Dooku is holding a meeting on Raxus. And Voss doesn't want to risk losing this moment, but Ventress fears he is not ready, strong enough in the dark side yet. So he's like, I'm going to get the sleeper. Chapter 17, Voss summons the sleeper and ultimately kills it, steeping himself in the dark side, and they decide to go after Dooku together. That is all I have for that. Chapter 18, Kenobi waits for another update, but Voss doesn't show. He meets with Yoda to express his concerns, and while Yoda is concerned as well, he admits that what has happened has already started and can't be stopped. Okay. Voss and Ventress head to Raxus, and they get this fancy clothing for this gala event. They head into the city of the gala, meeting the informant. Is it Sumden? Which I found really funny because it's literally just like a weird funny version of just something, you know. And he gives who gives them their passes to the event, and Ventress kills her. And Voss is like, "Why'd you do that?" But accepts it must be done. Chapter 19, the duo make it to the gala where Dooku is being awarded the Raxian Humanitarian Award. Dooku, with Grievous accompanying him, holds a speech that's met with great approval from the Separatists, and shortly after, Voss goes to detain Grievous while Ventress finds Dooku. Ventress enters the dining hall, her thoughts distracted on Voss's complete appreciation for her, and her lie about the death of his master kind of lingering as well, and she finds Dooku and makes herself known to him. And then chapter 20... yeah, it is a good scene. Chapter 20, Ventress challenges Dooku to a 1v1 on Rust. I mean, saber duel on, and Dooku alerts Grievous, but Voss has cut Grievous off from the security room and deprives him of his sabers and his comlink and traps him in the hallway. Grievous up to his clownery again. And then Dooku meets Ventress on the balcony, and Voss and her corner Dooku to his surprise and attack him. They handle themselves pretty well for a while until Dooku gains the upper hand, becoming more confident, and he slams Asajj into a stone bench, knocking her unconscious very briefly. All right, there's a lot here.
Yeah. What do you want to say about the sleeper? What you got?
I mean, it is an innocent creature that he killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is pretty sad, actually.
Yeah.
Like it describes its death. It's like pretty.
It is.
It's
sad.
terrified.
It's
Yeah.
going to be left alone. What you got?
Well,
The whole sleeper thing really made me double pissed off come time for the end of the book when he decides not to kill Dooku, because the whole thing is he kills this innocent thing and he's like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. But this guy literally starts off this book performing genocide, and Quinlan's like, maybe I'm not gonna, and then he doesn't kill him and he gets away. Like, I know plot armor, like Dooku's gonna end up in Revenge of the Sith.
yeah.
I get
Getting killed by a Jedi anyway.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be,
A month
and we'll
late.
get to it later. But it's supposed to be this parallel to Return of the Jedi. Like, it's very clear. It's a parallel.
Dude, I wrote down,
Where
it's
the
just
three of them are right there.
Everything. This book is just Kmart Star Wars all the time. Like, there are just moments where it's like it tries to be something that's better in Star Wars from another thing, and I hated that moment at the end of the book. Like, that was.
This is the worst example of it's like poetry. It rhymes. It's literally just like it rhymes, but it doesn't sound good. Yeah. It's like AI generated.
Because I was
I got to this
whole time.
Because he even goes, I am a Jedi, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, right.
Okay.
Dude,
we'll get
I'm
to
with
it.
you, Will.
We'll get to it.
It's the flip-flopping and these motivations and stuff. Like, on its own, that scene is really interesting. of him with the sleeper.
Mhm.
Actually, it's very sad. It's very dark.
He
But then
kills it
nothing
anyway.
becomes of it.
Yep.
And but also he goes with all the droids and he's just massacring clones. So it's like, okay, but you can't kill Dooku. You kill all these clones that you said were a big deal a little bit ago.
Yeah.
So you
that
can go
was-
hang out with your droids and that, but then 2 seconds later you can't kill Dooku.
If I could like interject at the writing stage of this book and be like, hey, you know what might be a cooler idea if you're going to do this whole sleeper setup is if he's the one who had to kill Ventress at the end, the way he kills his friend who's like the mercy kill after the whole poison thing. If he had to do that to Ventress of like, obviously it's the snake thing, so he had to kill her and be like, oh, she's not innocent, but in my eyes, this is somebody who I love, and I'm the one who has to end her in the way that I ended the sleeper.
That's a great point.
That's what I wish would have happened.
It's the Wanda Maximoff vision thing from Infinity War. Yeah. That would have been
I can't feel you anyway, or whatever he says. Like that sort of deal. That if he ended her and it was like, I don't know how it would end up in that way, rather than it just being she's super injured and he doesn't take her off to go get healed and get robotic abs like Fennec Shand or something. Like if he had to end her on that spot and Dooku had already fled and he's like, okay, I did my job. I'm going to leave her to die. She's bleeding out. He leaves. That makes sense as to why Dooku got away, whatever. And then Quinlan's the one who has to kill her. Like that would have been such better. Retribution isn't the best word for it, but like just a
payoff,
better poetry.
Payoff. Exactly.
Yep.
Of that whole, because they spend so much time on this sleeper thing, especially come the end of the book where he literally buries her in that same pool. It would have been such a better version of that if he killed her and then had to bury her in the same place that he killed that thing that he didn't want to, but it was, and she didn't deserve it in the same way the sleeper didn't. I don't know. There's so many points in this book where I'm like, I just wish it happened differently. And I know
you make a good point. You make a great point, actually.
Yeah. I think that the whole premise of the book makes it so it's impossible. Like you can't set up a thing where it's going to be this Black Ops story about killing Count Dooku because you know it can't happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's less interesting because you're trying, like, Dark Disciple. It's about Quinlan going down to the dark side. And so when you make him go in his descent into the dark side, you know that it's in vain because he's not going to actually do it. At least if you knew at the end there is a payoff to he kills him, but at cost, that's the payoff. He did it, but now what's left of Quinlan? There's that question, but there's not even that payoff because it can't happen, so you go through these things where you lose pieces of Quinlan's soul. And I know that, like, if you read some of the things from the author, the whole point of this book is to show that even the worst people can come back. And okay, but
it's literally Vader.
Yeah, but you're not showing it. And you're showing him go down this dark path with Ventress, who was kind of good by this point. It would have been more compelling if you would have teamed him up with a character. I don't know who you would team him up with at this point, but like, okay, say we're going to do a Black Ops mission to kill Sidious, and he's got to team up with Count Dooku. Okay, and at least Count Dooku is super evil, so he's really making him lose his soul along the way. But Ventress is kind of good most of the time, so it's just constantly this weird thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seth, what were you going to say? You had your hand up before.
Yeah, I just had a quick. I think too, since we're kind of talking about the end of the book a little bit, I think it would have worked also if like you kind of shoved all the relationship stuff to the side and just left it for the very end, where it's like, oh, I do actually care about you. That it's like, rather than this, like, I just feel like this whole kind of slow, like, it's not a slow burn. I don't even know what you would want to call it. Like, my wife was listening to the book and she called it a sunshine and cloudy relationship, where it's like, one's all uppity and then the other one's all kind of rainy day, that it's more like that. And I do think that if they had kind of cut out a lot of the relationship stuff and just left it at the very end where it's all like, hey, I actually do care about you, but I'm only willing to admit it since I'm dying.
Like Rise of Skywalker?
I was just about to say that.
Hey, you love that movie.
I do.
Yeah.
Will, what were you gonna say?
Yeah.
Parts of it.
I almost wish something like the end of the book was the inciting incident to get them to be together the entirety of the book. So like that happened at the beginning. Like if Quinlan was there when Ventress killed her master or his master, and the whole time he hates her, he hates her, he hates her. And it's kind of like, hey, do I like this girl sort of thing? And then it gets to the end and they're like, I mean, if you want to use the Kylo Ren Rey Skywalker thing again of like them hating each other the entire time, and then at the end is when they finally have that
The dyad.
Sure, and they have that, she has the realization, and that's when she's like, he hated her this whole time, but then he like kind of grew along to her, and then they had the realization, and then at the end she sacrifices himself for her. It's just like, I just wish the whole thing happened differently rather than it being, it's so, lack of better term, forced.
This is the real dyad. This is the real dyad.
The
So-
dyad-y.
One thing I almost kind of wish though is like if this book would have came out, like if we didn't know that Dooku was gonna die, I think it would have felt a little bit more interesting.
Oh yeah.
'Cause there were so many times
First
where
off-
I felt like, oh, he's about to die. He's about to die. But in the back of my mind, he can't die because Anakin beheads him. So it'd be a different experience if we didn't know that Dooku died and we thought that, oh, he's about to die right now. Because so many points I thought he was gonna get it, but I knew he couldn't.
See, that's to the writer's credit because I think that she does a good job writing scenarios, but then she has to write herself out of the corner that she wrote herself into.
Yeah,
because of what happens in Revenge of the Sith. And that's why I keep coming back to, I don't think that this story should have been made because
there's a reason why it didn't.
Yeah, well, but the prequels, they can work in a lot of other scenarios, right? Like the prequels themselves, they work because the tragedy is knowing where you end up. But here, the tragedy is not knowing that Count Dooku doesn't die. That's just the lack of a catharsis. And I think, and that's the opposite of what you want from your story. Whereas like in a good prequel, in my opinion, and the prequels, you're like, no, I want the story to turn out different. But in this story, you know that Count Dooku doesn't die. And so bad guy. And so it's like, you have to now know that your bad guy is going to make it out of the book and of the story without any catharsis. And so you're just left with, okay, well, how are the characters going to change? And then you have to watch your main character do a dark descent, become a dark disciple for nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I will say, on a good note, the gala scene was cool. I liked that.
The gala scene.
Good stuff.
I didn't like the whole setup with her in the dress, though.
You didn't like that?
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. I'm the odd man out here. Why do you guys not like it?
Comes in this black number.
Oh, I love
she's
it.
Beautiful.
Hubba hubba.
Oh,
I thought that was okay. It reminded me of the Yule Ball scene from Harry Potter, since we keep talking about it.
That's funny. Connor, I want to say, I think at some point, I don't know if anybody else is hearing this, maybe it's just me. Are there mics cutting out sometimes for you guys?
A little bit.
But
it comes back every once in a while.
Ours?
It's like instant, but it comes back right away.
It'll be like every like 16th word. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear what you're saying, but I just wanted to make, because I wasn't sure if it was an internet thing or a input
It
thing,
might be
but,
an internet thing. I don't know, because I don't see any input issues.
Okay, cool.
do we sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been able to understand you just fine. It just sometimes it pops in and out, and I'm like, I can feel.
See,
I
you
can
just
fill in
popped
the
in and out
gaps.
for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because everybody else has been kind of popping in and out from on occasion too. But I thought that was just an internet thing, so I didn't.
So maybe it's an internet thing then. Okay. Yeah, I think the gala thing is really cool. I like that. I think it is actually kind of cool that Ventress kills that one informant lady. I was like, oh, that's kind of in character for her, at least at this point in the book.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it's cool. I like the way that Voss deals with Grievous, because Grievous is a chump. Sorry, Cole, he sucks. Anyway. And
cut his hand off.
In canon, he sucks. And I mean, like the approach to Dooku of Dooku like sitting there talking, and then him just like immediately sensing her and she being like, hello, like just making herself known, like whispering in her ear or in his
That
ear.
was cool.
It is pretty cool. Like there's things that in this book that work, and I think that's the overlying thing that we'll even get into more is like the aspects of this work. It just needed to be streamlined, and I don't know who to credit on who to fault, and I don't want to tear these people down because I do like the overall concept. The writer of the book was Christie Golden, but she was adapting the episodes that were written by Katie Lucas.
Katie Lucas, yeah.
And like I think. Like I don't think either of them did a bad job. I just think it felt like it was maybe like a first or second draft, and it needed to go down to like a fifth draft,
Yep.
But yeah, like some of this stuff right here, this feels like prime, like end of episode 2 in the 4 episodes of Clone Wars right here,
Yep. Yep.
Do you think that when the episodes were canned and then brought back for this book, do you think that they knew that she was going to come back in later stuff like the Bad Batch? Because I know she was supposed to originally be that old lady in
Resistance.
What's that? Resistance, and then they changed her character.
Oh yeah.
So if they knew that was going to happen, my question is, why even have the book?
Well, this came out at a time.
Thank you, Seth. That's exactly the answer.
What year did this come out?
2015. See, they made
I don't
this.
think they knew anything then.
They made this book because they didn't know Clone Wars was coming back. Like that's why they didn't do. I think these would have been episodes in Clone Wars, but they didn't know that Clone Wars was coming back, and so they announced this at the celebration prior. This was the year. This Force Awakens wasn't even out when this book came out, by the way, and they made this book because it was like sitting in the drafts, and it was literally like it came out. I mean, they started this book like right after Disney acquired it, so they were like, "Well, all hope is lost. Let's just make it a book,"
Interesting.
If season 7 originally didn't get canned before it obviously got made after the Disney buyout, do you think we would have seen this in that season, or if it was just a canned up?
I mean,
do you think they would have used it full on?
I would have took this over the Martez arc.
I think so.
Any day.
Because there's too much like previs. I think they have too much done.
There's visuals and stuff. I mean, they had we've seen artwork and stuff. There's the Boba Fett stuff that we've seen. There was obviously the Bad Batch arc that was out there. There was the Crystal Crisis on Utapau was another one, which we end up seeing a little bit of that in that fan film. They're on Utapau, and there's a giant kyber crystal for the Death Star.
Crystal or Cristal?
I have something here for you.
Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
A kyber crystal.
Dude, we are man, Seth is our model right now, bro. Oh my gosh. We are nailing these Cerveza Cristal segues right now, bro. But yeah, I think we know there was going to be like the Yuuzhan Vong in Clone Wars and stuff. Like it was going to get wild.
I guess my question was, and Connor, that's a good point, that they had so much previs done of like, I just wonder how much stuff that got cut out actually held any weight, or if it was stuff like, where George is like, oh, I'd like to see it. Let's see if it looks cool. Like that kind of deal where they do it and then not. But I guess if they did have.
So as far as I understand it, like
cool.
When it comes to this in particular, I think that this was the plan for the character to die and have an exit point. And then Disney acquisition. This is just my speculation. Disney acquisition. They see all the stuff on the cutting room floor. They're like, well, let's capitalize on what we can. Let's do some quick turnaround before we get Force Awakens out and some other things. Hey, that arc right there, people like Asajj Ventress, throw it out there in a YA novel. Let's do it. Okay, cool. And now the things have progressed a little bit. Dave Filoni is a little more prominent. He's got some power, and they kind of regret throwing Asajj out the window.
Yeah.
But then well, I guess this happens no. Don't we see her in Clone Wars season 7? Or no, is that 6?
No.
Nope.
That's
She's in
season
6. Yeah.
So the two previs that I have seen for this book, episodes or whatever, were two scenes that I think would have worked. And I think they were going to streamline it down. And then because they made it a book, and the scenes that we see are the one where she's chasing Moragai and Quinlan tackles him and he's just like, "Don't worry, I've got this, honey." And she's like, "Honey,"
And she
like
punches him.
And I was like, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
And then there's another scene that we see of Dooku and Grievous squaring up with them. And I'm like, that's stuff that works. I think it's just the other stuff that like that seems, like that first one seemed like it was going to be the first episode thing, right? Like I can almost see that the council meeting in the beginning and Quinlan or whatever, and then going into the, he meets Ventress. This, like, it could have been broken up into two sets of, oh yeah, bring it up. We're gonna get in trouble for this? I hope not.
Probably not. If we talk over it, we don't need to listen to it.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Want to learn how to make
You
Oh God!
This is my first stream, guys. I'm sorry.
Dude, no cerveza crystals for you.
I know I've had too many behind the scenes. But yeah, this is like a 3-minute clip.
Okay, yeah, play it. It's important.
That's Asajj, if you didn't know.
I love, by the way, listen, I don't care what anybody says. The
Oh,
Big
there's
Sister
the
energy
arrow.
bows are rad. I don't care.
Oh, we kind of got this in the book, and then Quinlan was like, "Oh,
This is
I'm gonna
directly
climb
from
down."
the book.
Yeah.
This is from the book.
I wonder if this is this
Yeah.
this bow comes from.
From the what? Omega's bow?
From her bow. Yeah. I wonder if Omega's
Yeah,
bow
I
is
think
kind of
so. I
inspired
think
by
it's
that.
Yeah.
I think it's the exact same technology as well.
I think that's just
Yeah.
like a night sister.
But anyway,
thing,
to get
though,
like
'cause
to
that-
get
even
this
the
far
Fallen Order-
though, get this far in animation process, I think they're pretty committed to making these episodes.
Yeah,
There's
I would have
Goro.
loved to watch these. Like, I think again, if they had streamlined this down to like 4 or 5 episodes, I
There's
think
our
it
guy.
really
There
works.
he is.
Yeah.
Hey, Obi-Wan.
I mean, sure. I think it could have worked. I would have been curious to see how this would have translated to screenplay. I think that would have made it probably more interesting.
Yeah.
That's
and
why
like you
I think
said,
it-
more streamlined.
that's what I think is I think they would have had to have cleaned it up because like I think they probably I don't know the thought process behind the Clone Wars episodes, but like I'm like, oh, this is cool. This works. I would have loved to have seen this. Yeah, like you said.
Oh, they got some Duke. Oh,
So Boba is in this armor. That was one of my questions.
Yeah,
We don't
Boba's
yeah.
Boba is
We don't
only
know
getting
that.
out in like regular
Well, he
Boba
was a
armor.
weird helmet.
Embo.
He was wearing a helmet. That's all we knew.
He was
This
wearing that
isn't-
red and black one. You don't
This
see
isn't
this
in the
scene in the
book, no.
book.
This
Yeah,
isn't
we
in
don't
the
see.
book.
This is how they get them all captured.
Yeah, they
So-
just
so
roll up
it
and
almost-
capture.
Oh,
That almost
yeah.
confirms to me then that it was definitely going to be changed. Like, what is that?
What is?
See,
Oh
this is
my
why
God.
this isn't. This is why it didn't make it, guys.
That
I mean, I'm sure
okay,
it would have looked
that's
better. This is previs.
yeah. I mean, okay,
Love it.
that is great.
Well, let's move
dude.
on to this part. Let's read the next little bit.
Well,
until we
I
talk
was
about it.
just wanted to show it off in case people had never seen that before. But
I never seen it.
yeah, so because I think it's cool to see how that would translate. But yeah, so Asajj was briefly knocked unconscious, and Voss, this is chapter 21. He channels sound of music. He channels his anger and attacks Dooku. Ventress awakens while Dooku tries to manipulate Voss. And then Grievous briefly arrives to the fight, and Quinlan knocks him off the balcony at the same time that Grievous grabs Ventress's leg. And then Voss further channels his anger and disarms the Count. Dooku quickly grabs Voss's hands, forcing him on his stomach and disarming Voss of his saber, which falls off the balcony. Ventress and Grievous tumble to the lower levels as battle droids approach them. She sees Voss's saber and summons it to deal with the droids as Grievous goes to help Dooku. Dooku and the droids surround Voss, and the former uses Force Lightning and intentionally doesn't kill Voss. Ventress shows up as he's dragged away, and then she flees to the sewers, realizing that she can't help him in this moment. There's too many forces, and attempts to make a plan. Chapter 22, Voss is imprisoned and tortured by Dooku for an unknown amount of time. Dooku finally questions why they teamed up. Dooku attempts to manipulate Voss by convincing him that Ventress was trying to control him. And then he further tortures Voss, ensuring that he will continue finishing his training in the dark side. And then the council, they kind of have a little brief insert here where they debate Voss's unsure fate.
They sure do.
In this, Ventress goes to Tatooine and hires Boba, Bosk, Latz Razi, Heisinger, and Imbo to help save Voss, and for a sum of 250,000 credits. She's paying out some serious cash. And so they go to Sereno. At chapter 23, Voss is continually tortured, having nightmares of Ventress. He is eventually released and brought to a large dining table where Dooku is eating. Dooku tries to teach him a lesson and reveals that Ventress killed Thome, not Dooku. She actually did it against Dooku's orders. Quinlan accuses Dooku of falsifying the record, but I really like this. Dooku reveals a cabinet of sabers that he's collected and attempts to make Voss use his psychometry on the saber. Voss attacks Dooku instead, but is too weak to overcome him, and he's sent back to his cell along with Thome's saber. Basically, like you're gonna read it. I know you want to. Chapter 24. Ventress and the bounty hunters arrive on Sereno. They collectively attack this back entrance, which I'm pretty sure is the same entrance in the premiere of Bad Batch Season 2 when they go to Dooku's castle. They kind of hide out in the woods. And so they wait for some cargo to get dropped off while the bounty hunters provide a distraction, and Ventress runs in the castle to find Voss. After she goes through some droids, she finds Voss in his cell, and he's weeping. He's in the corner weeping, holding the lightsaber of his master. And as she approaches him, he begins to force choke her without even turning his back, and accuses her of being a liar and a murderer. This is the last chapter before we kind of wrap this segment up. Chapter 25. Voss is fully enraged in the dark side, and he blames Ventress. And at this point, he's really going to try to kill her. She pleads for him to stop, and she's like crying and Voss asks why she lied, and she admits that she was terrified of losing him. For a brief moment, he opens up, but then he continues to attack her. She realizes she can't convince him, so she tries to lure him outside of the castle. And as they make it, the bounty hunters have surprisingly captured Count Dooku while he did his little spinaroo thing.
Sound of music,
baby. But then the bounty hunters, Voss ends up freeing Dooku, and as a team, Asajj and the bounty hunters escape. Asajj shows up to 1313, where Dooku hopelessly awaits Voss in that bar that they had been meeting at, and she breaks the news that Voss is now Dooku's. This stuff at the time of reading was awesome.
He's fixing his camera.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know what you guys thought, but at this point in the book, I was like, this is cool. I am down with this.
I like the bounty hunter stuff. Like seeing Boba. I already thought we were gonna get Boba in Bad Batch, but this just like adds to it more because it's like he's part of this story. She goes to him twice in this book for missions. So
the Boba Asajj connection.
Yeah, the Boba Asajj connection there. And then with Bad Batch, with Daniel Logan voicing one of the clones, voicing Mox, you gotta tell me you had Daniel Logan there just to record.
Oh, he's in it. He's in it.
One jabroni, like
he's
come on.
Be here.
I bet you him and Asajj will show up. So I love the bounty hunter stuff. That was cool.
I think it was I really liked that connection considering the payoff of I think the episodes in season 4 or 5 where they team up and he's kind of got this grudge against her.
Yeah.
She's desperate. She gives like all of her money to hire them because his pride is so up here. Because he's still kind of a younger kid, but I like seeing those characters, especially Imbo. He's the homie.
Love Imbo.
And it's a cool thing. Like they go to Sereno, and she like that moment when he turns around, or he doesn't even turn around when he just force chokes her, and like it's revealed. I was like, dude, that is a really cool way to do that. And I really really enjoyed that stuff. It's just what comes later that like kind of cheapens this moment for me.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, this is all great, but it gets into the really bad stuff. Like I'm annoyed at the start of this book.
Yeah.
But the latter half is this is dumb.
This is the point in the book where I'm like, oh, okay, we're wrapping up. Like there's only a few chapters left here, Like
same.
this is the end of episode 3 of the 4-episode arc,
Yeah.
But it's not. It just keeps going.
8 episodes, baby.
So
the idea of Quinlan, and I know they've kind of delved into that with Cal also having that ability, which is kind of a cool game mechanic. And I don't think Ahsoka has it, but she kind of taps into it a little bit.
She did in the show all of a sudden.
I think she has it.
Of course. Dave's OC. But
Seriously.
I love that way that Dooku is like, oh, if you're not gonna believe me, well, you're gonna feel this.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah. That was.
I had that moment too. That's probably one of my top moments of the book is the payoff of the psychometry.
Yeah,
I think that is so good. That was so well done. Because I kept thinking that too. I was like Quinlan. I'm like, how are you going to convince him that Quinlan's already got it in his head that that you falsified this records? And then I was like, oh shoot, he's got the psychometry.
I was gonna say as soon as the chest of lightsabers, I'm like, oh, he's gonna make hold of all of them. That
that was good. That was good.
And my only issue with this, and this is a logistic thing. I mean, and I guess he's broken, he's tortured, he's more tempted to do it, but like he has a lightsaber. Why doesn't he just cut out of the prison? Like I know there's a shield, but surely the whole thing isn't a force
thing. I didn't even think about that.
Like he's now General whatever. What's the
No, we'll get into that, dude.
Admiral Enigma.
Yes,
Admiral Enigma, freaking Batman villain in here. I hate.
Yes, seriously.
Gosh.
Man,
what does this guy look like? I want to look up a picture.
Who?
So
he's got
real quick.
Admiral Enigma. It's Quinlan Voss with a helmet on.
A little question mark on his forehead.
That's what I mean. I'm like, what does he look like?
Question Voss, Admiral Enigma. But yeah, what were you? I just said my things. What do you guys think?
The only thing I'll say real quick, a little Boba Fett fan club for a second.
Yeah,
he is so cool in this book. I like that they get there and it's like they've already got Dooku tied up.
Yeah,
it's like all right, sick. But then they ruin it by like, just kill him. He's right there.
Bosk is right there with the gun aimed at his head.
They're right there. And then I don't get why Quinlan comes in and he's like helping him up. It's even if you're playing this weird long game at this point that he tries to get into later, I'm like, he's right there.
They've written themselves into a hole.
Is to kill Sidious. Even if that's your plan, kill him, become the new Sith, and then Sidious will come to you.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Sense. It makes no sense.
It's in this moment, it's good, but then as soon as he frees Dooku, I'm like, no.
Seth, go ahead.
So I don't remember. Like she doesn't prep them for that, right? They just come up on and they happen. to have
they just
Dooku,
happen to have him.
So I'm like, why didn't they just kill him? Like that's so weird that it's.
That's what I'm saying.
That just wasn't part of their job.
So many times where they can
they could just have done.
And they just so odd because.
Like, it's like the writer didn't have to do that. Like I get that.
I was going to say Dooku didn't have to be there, right?
Yeah,
he could have just been on another planet, and then the battle droids, like as they fly away, like wrangle him, right? Or like Dooku comes back right after and deals with Voss himself.
The only narrative purpose I can think of for this scene is to show Quinlan helping Dooku, so it plants that seed of
But I hate it.
I do too.
It makes a good action set piece though. To having him there, we saw it. We saw
but we don't even see that.
It's
in
weird.
No, well,
it's not even
the book's following them. The book's clearly following them.
I actually like it. I like it better in the book, aside from the fact that Dooku gets helped back up. But I like that she gets there and he's already tied up. Like that's great. That's great stuff. But,
Sound of Music, Grayson.
Like Mr. Incredible.
But I have two little Boba Fett call out real quick because I thought this was sick. So I thought, man, Boba may be an unaltered clone, but listen to this. He fired a repeating blaster, laughing gleefully as he mowed down battle droids and finally targeting one of the shuttles. He's just like the rest of them. You know?
Just trying to take down some clankers.
Yeah, I thought that was great. But then
now you can see that Boba is definitely aged a little bit because I think they'd say he's like 15, 16 at this point.
No,
he's 13.
He can't be though, right?
13.
In the book, they say he's like 16. And listen, there's hearsay or whatever. I'm pretty sure Boba is 3 years older than Omega.
Nuh-uh. We did a whole thing on this.
Yeah, we did a deep dive that we don't.
They're
think
the same
so.
age.
I listened to that, and I think you guys were wrong because there's things
We
that-
looked
there's
it up live. We looked it up.
there's
I love
listen, there's contrasting information. Like they imply, like you can tell from Boba's voice, even when we see him in season 5, he is older than Omega.
Maybe the way
Because
that
Omega
they portray
is
him,
like as a little kid at the beginning, at the very end of the Clone Wars, right? At the
maybe
beginning,
the way that they portray that, but
now he's older.
It
What's the problem with him being older?
I don't think that there's a
Nothing.
problem with it
Weren't they made at the
necessarily.
same
Well,
time?
Yeah, they were made
Yeah,
at the
that's-
same time.
Mm-mm.
And
They
it's
didn't
the
say they
same
were made at the
Alpha
same
and
time.
Omega.
Alpha and Omega.
Yeah, but that Omega comes after. They just made her after.
But if he's 16, that puts Boba, like Boba is 10 years old at the time of Attack of the Clones, and they're only 3 years.
So she's 7.
So you're telling me she's only 10 by Bad Batch season 1?
Or she's like 11 or something. She's like 14 now.
I don't know. She definitely seems like
he's
she's
7.
13.
Like I'm pretty sure he's like 17 or 18 at this point. She's like 14 or 15.
All
I
right.
don't
she's like-
know.
I don't know
She's like
either.
she's definitely
According
like
to
10 or
the
11.
Boba Fett fan club, he is 10 years old, circa Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, so that puts him at
Uh-huh.
that puts him at
It's like
13.
13 at this
13.
But
But I
is
don't think
Revenge of
that's
the
right.
Sith, because that's 19 BBY and 30
Well,
tier.
actually, it has
years
to
old,
be.
circa A New Hope.
Bring it up on the screen. Well, we need to see.
He's
It
not
has to be
10
right,
in
be-
Attack of the Clones, bro.
Wait. It has to be because the cloners started the clone army 10 years before Attack of the Clones. That's what they know that for a fact.
Sifo
So they would not have
Master Sifo
created Boba
Diaz.
Fett.
Oh, true.
Sifo DS. Isn't DS 10 in Spanish?
Ay, Dios mío!
I mean,
You know that's the thing about Sifo
sure,
Dyas
there's
is
like-
that
Sifo
Okay, so
10.
right.
it's
You're
also
right.
the weird thing
Sifo
of like,
Dyas.
is Darth Vader really 46 when he takes off the helmet? He looks like he's like 70.
Yeah, I think they may. This book, the timeline of this book is weird, I'll concede. I think you're right. Yes, I was owned. Thank you, Metroplex Asylum.
That Sifo DS
At least
thing
Connor and
might
Seth
be the
are
best thing
humble
I've
enough
ever
to not
thought of.
rub it in my face.
Oh,
I'll
But
give us
yeah,
a minute.
but like I think the weird thing about this book we've already talked about is that like months pass in multiple increments, and it's like how long did this take place? Because the Clone Wars is 3 years long, right? Roughly. That's how long the Clone Wars are? 3 years? 2.5?
Alan,
Yeah.
Omega is
Jamie, look
unaltered.
that up.
She is not an altered clone.
She's not altered, yeah.
yeah.
So I guess I'm wrong. I don't know. Then I guess
No,
this
I
book
mean,
just
I
has
get
a
you.
little-
I get what you're saying. Like he does seem older and he sounds
true.
older, but
I guess I had a
think that's
deeper
just the
voice when I was
performance.
13. Yeah,
I think
when he
that's
'cause-
also just because of stuff like Omega is still like playing with stuffed animals and stuff, and Boba
Yeah.
Fett is out murdering people. Like,
Right.
Who his dad was.
yeah,
Can-
Look who he
can
was
we
hanging
pull up-
out with.
yeah.
in the
exactly.
chapter, I think she says he seems like he's like mid to late teens, but I guess it doesn't mean that he actually is, right? Because I think about myself when I was, if he's 13.
yeah,
at
isn't
this
he sitting
time-
at a bar?
Yeah,
with all of those-
with 2 Twi'lek girls, by the way.
Yes.
A bar.
Yeah,
A
Hush.
bar?
You stop it.
Connor, Seth, I apologize, I was wrong.
No, no.
Wait,
dude,
wait,
I
wait.
get you. I
What-
get you.
what
I
kind
get
of
where you're
bar?
coming from.
I don't know. What do you think
What
you could drink at the bar?
I have something here for you.
Cerveza cristal. Cerveza cristal.
Dude,
you guys are gonna get a sponsorship. It's gonna happen, bro.
Every time.
So
Every time.
here's an article from 2016 where it says, interestingly, I'm just beginning reading Dark Disciple and discovered another discrepancy in the text that strongly implies the events of the book take place at least 5 years after the events of Attack of the Clones. Boba Fett, who is encountered very early in the story, is described as in his late teenage years, which makes absolutely no sense considering the current chronology. Assuming Boba was one of the first generations of clones, he would still be he would still only be 10 by Attack of the Clones. Give another 2 years for the events of Dark Disciple, and you find yourself with a 12 to 13-year-old Boba Fett, hardly in his late teenage years.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. They messed
I
themselves
think it's
up
still
then.
plausible. He's still he's still pretty rad. You know, I mean,
Well,
if you're trained as a child soldier like he is, you know.
Well, I also think about let's think about someone like Tamora Morrison. Like, let's think about the clones. I think about myself when I was 13 or 14, and I was like,
Oh, I
5.
bet you were awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, because I'm Quinlan Voss.
Exactly. I bet you were rad.
No,
Yeah.
you saw the picture of me with that Nightwing shirt. That's,
Yeah,
You were like a baby
that guy
Clark
was at
Kent?
the bar ordering Shirley Temples for sure.
But even when I was 13 or 14, I was like almost 6 feet tall. So like
Show
5'11". Sorry, bro.
I know
I'm
Metro
sorry.
is
I'm
joking
sorry.
here, but he actually does have a point. Like Boba, he says Metro says Boba probably had a lot of death sticks dealing with his dad's death that made him look older. I think the trauma of the Clone Wars and dealing with his
True.
dad's death does age him.
Well,
Though.
look
Well, he
his
also
company,
kills
too.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's the only
I can
thing
see.
knew.
I can see.
And
And
That's what
Alan,
Wiki Metric like.
we talked about Boba Omega a lot on our show. I'm sure everybody here has too, but she's definitely
believe-
unaltered. They go into.
I
deep-
believe you mentioned that in your the episode
She's in the
before the
not-
premiere.
Yeah, well, we talked about it in every episode since then.
Okay.
People,
Yeah.
people, I think, are mixing up the fact that she's unaltered, but they're like, but she's female. It's like Kim and Owens did not alter her,
No.
but she
Mhm.
still is an aberration. We just don't
Yeah.
know why, and that's the big thing. But
Women
anyway,
are
that's all I'll
just
say about
altered males.
that.
Um,
Yeah.
That's the blue
Anyway,
jeans
moving on.
moral at the end of this episode.
The last thing about Boba Fett, I really
You wear
like.
wigs.
I like his last line here, where he says, "Where Asajj is like, you could have left me behind," and he says, "Yes, I could have, but I'm not you."
Yes, that was
when
that was
when
like
was
a-
that?
Right at the end of chapter 25.
Oh,
Yeah.
Boba saying that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
back on the
but
ship.
I'm not you.
Yeah, stinger right there. There's a lot of moments in this where like someone says something to Ventress, and Ventress is like, yeah, like she takes it as like a personal, like, and it struck, you know. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I like that they get that kind of Clone Wars band of bounty hunters together. Rest in
Yeah.
peace. I don't know where Aura Singh is at, but
Do the next 5, and then maybe we
Yeah.
can do the last 10 in one go.
the last 12, you mean?
Oh yes, I'm sorry. There's 42.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I'll
actually
give it my
13 if you take into account when the book starts.
best. Shut up. So we're at 26. Okay. So also the moment where last thing, when she shows up to Obi-Wan and she's like he's gone, you know, that's a really good moment where I'm
It's a
like,
good scene.
oh man.
It's a good
yeah.
scene. Yeah.
And then it weirdly, whatever. Chapter 26. Months have passed and Ventress has begun drinking with money that she just gets from odd bounties. Quinlan
More months.
has allegedly risen as Dooku's chief admiral. Desh, the homie, I actually love Desh, finds Ventress on 1313 and implores for her assistance against the Jedi Council's wishes. Ventress agrees. Ventress speaks with the council. Despite most not trusting her, Yoda allows her to speak. They ask if the nature of her and Voss's relationship, as well as what she taught him. Move to chapter 27. The council mostly agrees that they need to rescue Voss with the help of Ventress. They receive news from Yularen that Voss, or this mysterious admiral, more specifically, has rumored to attack Terrace. Nice Old Republic fans. The council grants Ventress a full pardon if she helps, to which she agrees. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ventress take the Banshee to the location of the Separatist fleet. With its cloaking device enabled, they are able to hide from any detection. Ventress, using her memory of Separatist codes, taps into the channels and simultaneously lands as another ship is flying out of the hangar. Kenobi suspects that Voss is in the bridge, and Anakin, he says he'll deal with Dooku. Chapter 28. I'm actually going to go to chapter 32, if that's cool with you guys.
Go for it.
Just keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Yeah,
Go right to the end.
if you want me to, I guess. Chapter 28. Ventress hopes she can bring Voss back, but agrees to herself that she will kill him if she needs to, as the real Voss wouldn't want to be used by Dooku like this, being kind of wrapped in the dark side. The three sneak onto the bridge. As they enter, all they find are droids and Dooku. Anakin and Dooku duke it out. This is another one of those scenarios. Sorry, we'll get to it later. Another one of those scenarios where it's like, oh, they just casually ran into him again.
So stupid.
and Ventress and Obi-Wan deal with the droids and look into the computers with Voss's location. Voss is actually still being held captive, and he was never an admiral. This was all a ploy by Dooku to lower morale.
Except for that's not true. You find out later.
Except for that's not true, but it doesn't have whatever. Anakin fends off Dooku while the others find Voss,
but doesn't kill him. Is able to fend him off, but doesn't kill him.
So they run out of the bridge and they lock Anakin and Dooku into the bridge. And then Ventress and Kenobi, they find Voss, and he's been tortured more traditionally. He's got like scars on his back and everything, but his demeanor is a stark contrast from when Ventress last encountered him. As he pleads, he had to attack her to convince Dooku he had fallen, that there's surveillance cameras everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And keep in mind, earlier when she finds him on Sereno, he has Sith eyes. They say this explicitly. Yeah. He has Sith red or yellow eyes.
Yep.
So anyway, now he's not like this. And then Ventress doesn't believe it, and she attempts to attack him. She's like, I got to put you out of your misery, bro. Okay. Chapter 29. Kenobi and Ventress spar, and this is that moment where, Connor, you were like, the whole like, it was easier to fight you when I was trying to kill you sort of thing. But which I get what he was saying. We'll get into it later. Spar as the ladder that like these droids. Kenobi and Ventress spar as Ventress is intent on killing Voss, who makes distance from them. Some droids show up, and Kenobi convinces Ventress to seize this for the time being. Anakin, as they run away, Anakin reunites with them. He literally drops through a hole in the ceiling. Where's Dooku? We don't know. It is pretty cool, though.
Exactly.
It is very Anakin. The hangar doors begin to close when they make it to the Banshee. And Voss is like, I'll go take care of it, and he runs out of the
door. So stupid.
He runs out of the ship,
guys,
to revert the controls of the door. He runs back, and they leave the hangar as they are chased by TIE fighters. Ventress, using some piloting skills, evades the droids and makes the jump to hyperspace. Voss again tries to plead to Ventress that his rage was just an act to convince Dooku, but Ventress shuts him down and says they're done. Anakin and Obi-Wan tell him they know she'll come around. Chapter 30. They return to the temple. Ventress is still convinced that this is not her Voss. She still senses this darkness in him. This is not the same guy. She is pardoned, as the Jedi said, and attempts to leave. But before that, Voss intercepts and tries to talk. He assures her that he still has feelings for her, and that what he did on Sereno was that so he could get close to Dooku and kill him. But he didn't think Ventress would truly believe it, and if he's lost her because of that, it isn't worth it. Ventress realizes that he watched them be accepted by the council, and he mentioned nothing of his love to Ventress, and so she, on that note, leaves. Done. Anakin. We cut to a thing of Anakin and Padme. Anakin and Padme. They talk about it, and Anakin blames Ventress entirely for Voss's fall to the dark side, but Padme makes a point that Ventress's love for Voss might be his way back from the dark. Chapter 31. A month later, here's another month. Kenobi gives an update on. Sorry,
you've had several months. How long? How many months are in a year in Star Wars?
I was about to say, I'd love someone to do a count, because I think like by this point it's been like 8 or 9 months. Anyway, Kenobi gives an update on Voss's condition. Physically, he is mostly healed, except his scars. And Kenobi believes that the darkness Ventress sensed was just from his rejection of her.
It's the scars on the inside.
That's the one thing that I'm like.
It's the real problem.
Will, go ahead.
So, Seth, you just pointed out something that was a big question of mine. At so many points, like we've said, they keep saying many months pass. I would love to see what else is going on in terms of the Clone Wars while this is going on. Because if this was supposed to take place over 8 episodes of the Clone Wars,
it'd have to be spread out.
It would have to be spread out rather than seeing all of this take place back to back, unless they were going to jump around a lot.
Well, that's where the whole Admiral Enigma thing gets confusing, because then it's like, oh, there's all these battles, and this Admiral Enigma guy's wiping house, and you're like,
where does the back half of the Clone Wars show take place in terms of the back half of this book? You know what I mean? Like when Obi-Wan sends Quinlan Voss off to meet Asajj Ventress at the beginning of this. At what year is it in terms of
this is after Ahsoka has already left the Order.
Yeah.
So we're in like the final months of the Clone Wars.
Like 6 months, surely. 8 months, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll continue. Let me continue.
This is the exact same amount of discrepancy Boba Fett's age is for all of this.
That's how it is.
But yeah, so Voss, he's doing good physically. Kenobi's like the darkness he sensed was nothing. Mentally, most of the council trust him, believing he stumbled but did not truly fall, and that he's ready to take higher profile missions again. The council assigns Kenobi. I wrote Dooku. I don't know why. The council assigns Kenobi and Voss to reclaim a hidden separatist supply base on an asteroid, bringing Desh and Anakin. They find the asteroid and make contact with some droid starfighters. Take care of those. They find the base full of supplies, and they realize they should have brought more ships. Chapter 32. Desh gets the clones. Blah blah blah. They get some of the supplies, and Voss is like, "Oh, I have a hunch that Dooku's planted some more stuff here. I'm gonna go take a look." As the other Jedi and clones begin to load the equipment, Voss is like, "There's bombs. Get out of here." Everyone escapes except Kenobi. He waits for Voss at the last minute. They make it out. And the asteroid it remains intact, so Desh stays behind with a transport to scavenge some of the supplies while they return to Coruscant. Ventress is in the bar on Pantora, where her and Voss.
Where?
Not
we
Pandora.
got stuff to talk about. You knock it off over here.
Sorry,
listen.
She's
that's
where?
a 2008 Pantora. Tora T.
Everybody's blue and very tall there.
She's sitting where?
Don't give in. Don't give in. Don't
dude,
do it.
So I think that bar on Pantora, Tony?
I have something here for you.
Cerveza cristal. Cerveza cristal.
We make 3 cents every time that plays.
Banger. We can maybe make our money back from buying the book. I'm just kidding.
Bingo.
Yeah. Anyway, Ventress is. Thank you, Seth. She's in the bar. Voss just shows up out of nowhere. He admits to her that she was right when she sensed darkness in him, and he did briefly help Dooku. Okay, there you go. But eventually, throughout this whole thing, he did forgive her about figuring out about his master. Kind of confusing. But apparently now the darkness that she senses in him is because his heart is breaking because he doesn't have her anymore. And he hopes she will forgive him too. If she does, he will leave the order once he has defeated Dooku, and Ventress accepts. All right, let's end it here. That's the end of chapter 32. Dude, what freaking...
It's so complicated. It's so complicated.
This book is nonsense.
This is where it gets into I can't stand this.
Yeah, I'm
there
with you.
Admiral Enigma. Or fan fiction level stuff.
The whole book is kind of like fan fiction.
I hate Admiral Enigma. That is the worst thing I've ever heard in Star Wars. Like that. Why? It's so dumb.
Listen,
sounds
okay,
like a Batman villain.
That's him right there.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Listen,
That's Admiral Enigma.
No,
I don't hate it.
No, that's from the Clone Wars comic book. That is not Admiral Enigma.
Like if you told me it's like Darth Enigma or Darth Enigma or something, fine. I guess.
Tell me this,
Darth
Obi-Wan.
Enigma.
Because Darth
your girlfriend is dead.
Kind of have that vibe to it. But Admiral Enigma, that's what you're throwing out there as your big boogeyman for the galaxy. That's so like Admiral Enigma up here on the bridge. It's just
I
hate it.
I get it from like a galactic standpoint. And then I'm like, at first I was like, are you kidding me? Now Voss is one of his lieutenants. And I was like, I hate this. And then they make the reveal of like, oh no, he's not. Dooku was just using this. I was like, okay, that's cool.
See,
I like that.
I'm with you.
But
I'm like, I'm down, I guess.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, that makes sense. Dooku would do that. Then he did help him. And you're like,
Admiral Enigma was real. And it's like, this is what I don't get. It's like in the beginning of this book, like Count Dooku kills all these people, and Voss is like, I gotta do this thing, and now he's doing all this stuff for the Separatists. It makes no sense for his character at all.
That's the true Enigma.
He is the true Enigma.
I guess he lives up to his name, bro.
Yeah.
That actually is so hilarious because he lives up to his name, because the entire book I'm like, what is this man doing?
And also
Yeah.
later
That's a Jedi Master.
we'll get to this, but why does Sidious act all surprised about Quinlan later? If Admiral Enigma is all over the HoloNet,
That's a great point.
Why does Sidious like, yo, who's in the shadows, my
Yeah.
friend? So that he walks out. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like
He's like,
Dooku's not hiding him at all. What are you talking
And
about?
he doesn't even say, oh, he says this is my assassin. He doesn't say, oh, this was the admiral that's been helping us.
It's so goofy. It's so goofy.
Jeremy, who is this Enigma?
Hey there. Hey there, Sidious. I'm the new assassin.
Hey, I'm hoping to get an audience with you, my liege.
It's so goofy. It's so goofy.
I like the turn. Like the thing is, it's like, okay, I'm like, I don't hate the idea of Dooku, using Voss as like this unmade, like that's fine, right? That's cool. He's been locked up, but then it's like the whole, like you said, it comes to the point where he's like, oh no, he admits to Ventress as he escapes, and she's like sensing darkness in him, and she's like attacking him, and they never give you a direct answer of like why she sensed the dark. Oh, they do later on, because it's like, oh, he was lying to himself, and you're like, what?
That's fun. Like, that's okay, I guess, that he was so well at concealing it that only Ventress could detect it because she was so deep in the dark side.
Good of a spy.
Okay, sure. But
he could spy on himself.
Also, it removes every bit of agency from Quinlan, which, again, if you go by the author's point for the book, is like, hey, this story is to show that no matter how bad it is, how bad you are, you can always come back. Well, nobody blames Quinlan. They put all of it on Asajj at this point. Like in the Jedi Council scenes, they're all like, it's all her. It's all her. She's the one who did this. No one is saying like, man, Quinlan went too far. He succumbed and it's his fault. We gotta now Mace. I can't believe that I'm saying this. I'm with Mace on this one. He's like, dude, execution. That's what we need to do.
Well, how many times he flip-flops, I don't blame him. I mean, granted, it paints Mace in a bad light, but like that's the thing is like you get to the point where on Sereno and he's troubled or whatever. But I always hated the idea that like some of the games and Legends and stuff did this where they were like, oh, they fall to the dark side and oh, now they're just automatically teaming up with the bad guy. And then this, they like kind of subvert it where he's trying to get close to Dooku and everything, but it just comes across as messy and makes Quinlan look like a bad character.
Yeah, but it doesn't work because at the end, he doesn't actually get close to Dooku and he doesn't actually kill him. He has multiple opportunities.
Yes,
like if that was the point, like if we got to the point where it's like, okay, he got to it. Like, okay, let's say in this world, Dooku can really die. And so you get to that point where Admiral Enigma kills Dooku, and then Asajj and the Jedi Council are like, but you worked for the Separatists, you killed all these people. And he's like, yeah, I had to do what I had to do. And then he looks to Asajj like, you remember the sleeper? Like, you taught me that. You taught me that, sacrifices had to be made. Like, this is what I had to do in order to kill Dooku. Like, this is what you taught me, right? And then that's complicated, and that could be really interesting. But
yeah.
You remember the sleeper, babe? Yeah, well, the sleeper has awakened. I am Enigma.
Pretty much.
It's the real me.
Like, every time this book tries to be interesting, it decides not to be.
It is a series of like moments where I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then I'm like, okay, like how many times have
This is great.
Yeah.
If I looked like I was really focused for like 5 minutes, that's what I was doing.
Pretty much. Dude. That's what it is.
Oh my gosh.
It's so bad.
Dude.
Oh, man,
dude, he looks cursed, by the way, without having the tattoo like across his eye. Like that is man.
That's awful quick Photoshop right there. I was like,
so one thing I will say that I will compliment in chapter 27.
I wish that it said Enigma and then a question mark after the Enigma.
So in chapter 27
stands for question. Sorry.
There's this bit here. It said Kenobi and Ventress are talking, and Ventress looked from Admiral Yularen to Yoda and then back to Kenobi. You've got to be joking. You know as well as I do there is still hope for him. I don't know that, she said bluntly. Oh, I mixed up the voices. Sorry. Kenobi was surprised. Mace Windu frowned, leaning forward. You weren't there. You didn't see his face. You don't know how hard it is to come back from. You did it, Kenobi interrupted quietly. I like that moment from Kenobi.
That's a good moment.
Where he's like, you came back from all this. It's not impossible. If you could do it, then he could do it.
Yeah.
I like the trust in
because he likes her.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Good moment though.
I mean,
I thought that was
I do like that Yoda and Kenobi throughout the book are the ones to not quickly as dismiss her.
Yeah, they pay her a lot of respect. I think that's great.
Yeah, because it's like they understand like she's not a Sith anymore, right? But then Mace Windu is like, she's still a Sith, and he's like, former Sith, like, and again, I don't. Go ahead, Will.
If the Jedi Council didn't get purged to high heavens, and Asajj kept kicking, do you think at some point they would have brought her into like the Jedi as like as somebody who's because they give her so many chances, and they do it with Ahsoka too, of like, oh well, we'll let you back in. And I know she trained with the Jedi Council and was raised by them and everything, but do you think like how Quinlan has this weird pass to kind of do whatever he wants? Do you think they would have given the same thing to Asajj as like a pseudo Jedi? If she was like, I would like to be a Jedi.
She was a Jedi before. She had 2 masters.
Yeah,
they don't take her lightsaber, which I know she doesn't have it at this point, but they don't even make that point say it.
Okay, that's so. Let me get to the. Can I start off with this lightsaber thing?
I would like to hear.
I've been very excited.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and fast track the whole thing, and I'll get to it later.
Yeah.
So we start off. Quinlan has his green lightsaber, his standard green lightsaber. Ventress has this new yellow lightsaber. We go to the gala. Okay, she loses her yellow lightsaber. She gets knocked out of her hand. They never mention it again. She has Quinlan's lightsaber. That's what she uses for the rest of the book. Okay, allegedly. Then when she goes to Sereno, Quinlan doesn't have his lightsaber anymore. Apparently, he has his masters, right?
Yep.
And so then he's using that for the rest of the book. But then later on, so I think she's still using that one. She's still using Quinlan's, and eventually she does give Quinlan back his lightsaber, and then she gets a lightsaber. But I don't think they ever say what lightsaber she's using because she doesn't get her yellow one back. I don't think. And then later on, Dooku. Maybe I'll wait for this. I won't. When because it's the last thing that I'll when we do the rest of the summary things. Dooku, when Anakin and Obi-Wan sneak on to the ship again, by the way, second time in this book, they're hiding behind a desk, and Quinlan is fighting. I'm assuming he's using his regular lightsaber. Dooku gets his lightsaber knocked out of his hand, and so does Voss. So then Anakin and Obi-Wan, they take the lightsabers, and they take them to the Republic cruiser, and then they escape from the Republic cruiser, and they take Desh and the other guy's lightsabers, okay? Then they escape. Dooku never gets his red lightsaber back. Ever. He doesn't ever get it back because they immediately escape to meet up, and then they go to Christophsis, right? Because Ventress, they meet up. Ventress saves them from the cruiser, and then they go over to Christophsis. They crash in Christophsis, and the entire time, like, I don't think Ventress uses a lightsaber for the rest of the book, so I do think she did lose it. She did lose that yellow one, but then Dooku and Quinlan have been using the blue ones, the ones from Desh and the other guy for the entire book. And that's it. Dooku never gets his lightsaber back. Ever. So he just has it in Revenge of the Sith? Did he make another one? Is that what we're doing now? Come on. Be real.
Yeah, it's weird, man. And then where does Asajj get her new yellow lightsaber in the Bad Batch trailer?
That's another thing. Because that
is it a different hilt too?
It is. It's her. Yep. It's her old. From what we can tell, it's a different hilt. It looks curved. We don't know for sure. Yeah. She just had. And I'm like, listen, I'm a lightsaber guy, all right? I love lightsabers. I pay attention to when people lose their lightsabers. Lightsaber lore is important to me. When you start throwing lightsabers willy-nilly, it gets real confusing real fast. And I'm like, so what lightsaber does Quinlan Voss? Does he have his regular? I think he has his. No, he doesn't. Because he was, well, then he goes back to the council, so maybe he has his lightsaber again. But the Jedi just have Dooku's lightsaber, and Ventress doesn't have one at all. Well, she's dead, but go ahead.
Well, mind you, between all these major events, months are passing. Maybe others are built.
The lightsaber knocks on the door. Dooku.
I mean, Dooku has a whole chest of them on Sereno. He could just
True.
pick another one out.
That do be true.
Yeah.
My head
No,
canon.
I mean, maybe they took Grievous's coat and they took some out of Grievous's little cape. It's
True.
like,
I guess.
yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
he could just bleed another one with ease if he's that evil. But it's just.
No, I'm
hate when
with
they
you.
do
It's like
that.
there's constantly little things like this, and it's like
They freaking Quinlan and Ventress switch lightsabers like 3 times throughout
yes,
the whole.
they do.
It's wild.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yes.
It's
At
also
this
an
point-
easy thing not to do. Like it was a choice to make that happen and then not follow the continuity.
They
Like,
could have easily planted Dooku's lightsaber on the other Jedi, like hold this, but Obi-Wan took it, right? And they're up
Yeah.
in the bridge, and so when they escape, they take the Jedi's lightsabers. They could have been like those Jedi could have taken the lightsabers or something. It would have been weird, but whatever.
On movies and TV, they have script supervisors to go continuity error. But for books, I guess it just goes through a weird approval process of being like,
yeah,
we're gonna change it anyway at the end of the day. And then Dave will be like, only the TV shows and
this
the
only. I always remember, because I am a lightsaber guy. I've always been like, okay, how easy or hard is it to get a lightsaber? So Ventress gets hers on the black market, and it's written off in one line as it's easy enough to get one on the black market. Okay,
eBay.
sure. That's fine. Yeah, whatever. Whatever gets a cool lightsaber, that's fine. But then now I'm like, well, with all these lightsabers getting thrown around, no wonder there's so many that are laying around. And now you get to like I always think of like Galaxy's Edge where they're selling all of these character lightsabers. And I'm like, you know what? At some point or another, I'm sure Doc Ondar got all these lightsabers because all these, they're just freaking shucking them over their shoulders. Like, whatever. It's like, whatever.
Dropping them as they're walking through bus stops.
Yeah. They're like, gotta make another one. What color do I want this time?
Not to bring it back to something we talked about in earlier chapters, but this is something I wanted to bring up to the group. Did anybody else think it was weird that there are bathroom stalls in Star Wars? I read that and I was like, that's just a weird, like something you don't think about in Star Wars where they're like, what are the logistics of bar bathrooms?
There were
bathrooms?
stalls, right?
What
kind of bathrooms?
Where were they at?
Dude.
I have something here for you.
Cerveza cristal. Cerveza cristal.
Oh, Will.
We lost Will.
Even funnier the 14th time, isn't it? That's crazy.
That's all I got. I got one joke.
We got a
I'm
quota.
sorry.
We got to hit 3 more by the end of this.
Will,
Listen,
I need a
let's
super
just
cut short after we're done with this of that.
Can we?
Supercut.
Is it cool if I just blitz through the last 10 chapters
Yes.
and let's wrap
Yes.
this bad boy up?
Yeah,
Yes.
this is like
Do
7
it.
hours
All
later.
Sucks anyway.
Chapter 33. Voss
Hey,
is
hold on one
entrusted.
second. I'm sorry. What's
Oh.
the name of his friend?
Desh.
Okay. I think I looked at a picture of Desh.
They don't. There's not a canon look for him.
I know it's ludicrous though. Like, yeah, Google it. It's ludicrous the things that come up on.
There is
on Google.
one that I did really like where he kind of has like this almost like splayed face, and he's kind of has like this.
DESH, right? Desh.
It's his full name is Akar Deshu, AKAR space Desh U.
Is it
Some people just make it
the wolf guy?
pull up the. Is there?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's like a wolf.
set.
Where's it at?
I like the one, that third picture right there, the third one on Instagram. I like that look for him. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But that one, I'm like, that's
Yeah, that's what I
There
see.
he
Is I'm just like, what is
There it
happening?
There it is.
I can't.
That's
And then I was
so
like,
bad.
that's
That's
I can't.
also like that's
the
such
guy
a.
from
That's
Power Rangers.
beautiful.
Someone read that and they were like, dog Jedi.
I like it. I like it. Now
When C-3PO said die Jedi dogs, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, that's it. I can't get
Wow.
over it. That's the picture that I'm just like, I can't, like, I'm done.
It's like those memes that people have of like the werewolves or they're like the demons inside of me and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Inside you
wolves.
are 2
There's
wolves.
2 wolves
Yeah.
inside of you. Yeah.
Someone said Obi Wolf Kenobi. Oh my god, bro.
What? That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's blitz through this and call it a wrap.
is, dude. I go because they're talking about the stingers at that one point. You're gonna get to it, and I'm like, all right, what's this guy look like? And so I Google it, and that's the first thing that comes up, and I was just like, this book's so stupid.
Wow, that's dumb.
I
never let them cook. Never let them cook. All right. Chapter 33. Voss is entrusted to directly fight the Separatists once again after this this bomb incident thing. And him and
that's so funny.
That is horrible, bro.
Oh, lightning slug. Woo!
It's even worse because he's like his spirit takes like a loth wolf. Oh man. Anyway,
that was good.
So Voss and Kenobi are assigned to destroy this listening outpost on some planet, Vancor. It was in the show. It's where the Gundarks are from. Anakin joins them. They go to Vancor, and it basically, I'm not going to get into all the details. Nobody's there. All right, it's completely abandoned. Voss uses psychometry on a comb and discovers that Dooku ordered the post to be abandoned 2 weeks prior. Voss is allegedly frustrated as he feels anything he has learned is now useless. Kenobi suspects someone is leaking info to the Separatists, so they return to the temple. Chapter 34. Kenobi meets with Windu and Yoda. Windu suspects that Voss isn't fully rehabilitated and that he's the mole. The three Jedi contact Desh, and they reveal that the bombs were actually Republic bombs on the asteroid. And that Kenobi is adamant that this isn't concrete proof, but they have to find some, right? That Yoda is like, and Kenobi are like, we'll find some. So later, Yoda summons Kenobi and reveals that he touched the hand of Quinlan Voss off screen and detects the dark side within him, because while Quinlan has psychometry, Yoda can sense the soul searching. All right, sure. They meet with the council, and he's like, "Oh, the darkness is still hidden within him." They meet with the council, relay the information, determining his punishment. And guys, keep it together. Keep it together.
This book sucks.
No, look at the chat.
No, don't look at the chat.
Look at the second from the bottom.
No. Wait.
Hit it!
I have something here for you.
Cerveza cristal. Cerveza cristal.
I'm so done, bro. Oh man. All right. Yeah. They relay the information to the council, determine his punishment. Windu and Kaldi-Mundi are like, he's got to go. Yoda isn't even completely against the idea, but Kenobi is like adamantly pushing against the idea. And he suggests sending Voss, guess what, to turn on Dooku, to go back, go kill Dooku, and maybe that'll show his true allegiance and reveal his true self. And Kenobi will follow him this time.
Meg, have you seen the Meg with Jason Statham? Literally, the first half of that movie is the second half of that movie. Like, it's literally like it's the same movie twice. That's what I'm feeling like now.
So Kenobi's gonna follow him.
We'll just send him to go find him again and kill him.
We should do an assassination mission. That's a good idea. It's only been
like
1,100
Perhaps
months.
we'll send the other assassin. The same one we sent before that fell to the dark side.
That'll prove it.
Well, we can't send Quinlan Voss. Who do we send? What about Quinlan Voss? Good idea.
What about Admiral Enigma?
Oh,
yeah.
No, it's truly
that's a great Jedi right there.
That guy's so mysterious.
Chapter 35. Voss and Ventress have been meeting frequently at a park in Coruscant, one of those floating ones or whatever. This meeting, Voss reveals he is being sent to Count Dooku, and he believes he's ready this time. Ventress pleads for him not to just drop it. It doesn't matter anymore, but he doesn't budge. So Ventress is like, fine, I'm going with you. And Voss is like, okay. So he brings her to the temple. And then the council at first is like, what? No, why are you here? But then they're like, it's fine. So Ventress points out Christophsis as the place where they need to go. So as they leave, Ventress suspects they are being followed. But Voss is like, that's what I'm counting on, baby. And Ventress is uneasy, but trusts him. Chapter 36.
And that never comes back around, by the way.
Never comes back. Never comes back. Ventress and Voss make it to Christophsis in the middle of the battle. Voss decides that They go to the flagship. He's got to take Dooku by himself. Backtrack on that. Ventress, don't come help me. And so Ventress is like, okay. And so she flies away while Voss goes to the ship. And so then Anakin and Obi-Wan, they come up in a separatist shuttle. This is actually one of my favorite parts.
Maybe they were the ones following them. Maybe it was Anakin and Obi-Wan trailing them.
That's the point.
That was, but he's like, I'm counting on it. Anyway,
he was counting on it.
Yeah.
Anakin and Obi-Wan, they follow them to Christophsis and a separatist shuttle where they have remote controlled battle droids. All right, that they can walk around and speak through, which I think is hilarious.
So Clone Wars.
It's so Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And so they, using the droids, they sneak onto the ship and they make it to the observation room. I'm not going to get to the nitty gritty of that. And Dooku pulls up. They're hiding underneath a desk. And then Voss shows up and he's pissed off and he's like, Dooku's like, did you finish your mission, Quinlan Voss? And Voss is like, I'm going to kill you. And then Quinlan, at this point, I'm really rapid firing this. Voss fights Dooku and then he's like, actually, I'm not going to kill you. I want a new master. And then
the dumbest backtrack.
Dude, so stupid. And then Dooku is like, he's like, well, you need an introduction first. We can be equals. And Voss is like, all right, bet. And so then Obi-Wan's like, no, and they attack, and then they take out Dooku and Quinlan Voss, and then they disarm him and place him under their arrest. Chapter 37, Kenobi alerts Desh, and the other Jedi, Bayons is his name, by the way.
Seth has a question.
Go ahead, Seth.
I just want to this is my last major point was this was the part that really made me mad where Obi-Wan stops with the lightsaber right there to count Dooku. And it's like, guys, what's the mission? It's been decided twice now that this guy needs to die, and they still say, you know what? Let's take this guy in.
And their excuse for
Let's
it
do
is
it the right way.
They're like,
I'm not a renegade cop.
We need
to do this by the books.
Come on, Murtaugh.
And the excuse that they keep saying is that we can get information from them. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
Chapter 37, Kenobi alerts Desh and the other Jedi Bayons, bringing Dooku and Voss. As Desh and Bayons bring them to the brig, Voss stops, and Desh, of course, is like, I want to talk to him. And then Voss is like, you're weak, you suck. Blast, take his lightsaber. They break free. When I literally groaned. I was like, and then as Dooku and Voss escape, they deal with the clones pretty easily. They mess these clones up. Desh uses his Maran birthright, which is the stinger thing, which was mentioned in the beginning of the book, where it pops out.
It's like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, literally. And basically, if you hit him with the poison, you die. As soon as you eject it, that person starts to get the blood or the poison in their blood. But then if you touch them, they die. So it's like a trade-off thing. So Desh is like, Voss has got to go. So he jumps at Voss, and Voss turns around and force pushes him back, throws him at Bayons, and it hits Bayons across the cheek, kills Bayons, and then Voss comes up and stabs him with a lightsaber to put him out of his misery, possibly. I'm going to assume. Kenobi then tells the council of Voss's fall. At the same time, the council is agrees that he has to be executed but brought to the temple first for information. So then Cody quickly alerts Kenobi and Anakin of Voss and Dooku's escape and the death of Desh and Bayons. Cody's leg gets broken. And so then Ventress, Voss calls Ventress. Ventress pulls up. They get in the Banshee. I don't know how they got past security. Whatever. I guess the cloaking device. I don't know. And then
don't think about it. It'll make sense.
Yeah. And then Dooku is there, and Ventress is not as mad as she should be. She is mad, but Voss is like, Voss pulls a Dutch from Red Dead 2, and he's like, I have a plan. And then she's like, all right. Did anybody play Red Dead 2?
Out of nowhere. That was good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Did you guys play? Anyway, we'll talk about that later after the stream. And so then she's like, fine. I literally have it written in my notes. You could tell I was getting frustrated where I said, Ventress rescues Voss and is appalled to see Dooku is with him. Voss tells her he has a plan, and she reluctantly agrees to his plan. Again. Chapter 38. Anakin and Obi-Wan track the Banshee and fire upon the ship to damage them so they don't escape. The ship gets hit a little bit harder than they expected, and so it crashes on Christophsis. The three escape from the crash into the forest. As they briefly stop, Voss assures Ventress he can trust him again, and Ventress is like, fine. And Kenobi contacts Ventress and reveals that Voss is allied himself with Dooku. fully. And so Ventress has doubt, but she still supports Voss. She's still like, okay. And Kenobi is ordered to kill them if need be, my Mace. Kill anybody that gets in your way. Thank you, Mace Windu. Very
Kill
cool.
them all.
Yeah, Mace.
Yeah,
He's like, kill them
that's
all,
even
Obi-Wan.
hard for Mace Windu. It's like,
Yeah.
they even got Mace Windu
murder.
See, chapter 39. Ventress, Voss, and Dooku make it to the tower. He kind of obscures his injuries, and then they enter the base. Dooku is been called by Sidious, so he calls him back. He's like, let me call you back. And Ventress and Voss are in the room. Ventress is over here. Voss is like over there. And then this is the part where he's in the shadows. Voss is introduced as Dooku's new assassin. And Voss is like, my new assassin? What the heck, man? Dooku asks for a ship to get off world, which I don't really know why he can't just ask the droids for that. But either way, so the Republic forces just obliterate this tower in this forest, and so they're Ventress, Voss, and Dooku are hopping down the stairs. And as the tower gets attacked, Kenobi hopes that they don't have to kill them all. Classic Kenobi. Chapter 40. Ventress is injured badly because the building collapses. Voss picks her up, and they escape to another like more fortified building that's kind of off to the side. And then Dooku is shot at the last minute, so Voss drags him in and demands Ventress to put pressure on his wound from the crash because he was bleeding. And while Voss goes off to fight the Republic forces, Dooku plants more seeds of doubt in Ventress that Voss fully is like a Dark Lord, and reminding her that she has no idea what Voss's plan is, and neither do we. And then Anakin and Obi-Wan can't penetrate the building because it's a double layer. So there's the crystals on the outside and then like armor on the inside. And Kenobi suggests a ceasefire while they find another way in through the back. We don't really know where that's at, but whatever. Chapter 41. Voss returns and Ventress demands the truth. Voss admits he is siding with Dooku for her. Ventress pleads for Voss to make the right choice. In a decisive moment, Ventress shoves Voss across the room at the last minute while taking the blow of Dooku's force lightning. Voss intercedes right after, shooting the lightning back with his lightsaber back towards Dooku, and kind of knocks him out for a little bit, sorta. And then Voss rushes to Ventress's aid, realizing she's deathly injured. In a fit of rage, Voss storms the Dooku. Yes, okay, it happens twice. Then Dooku encourages Voss. He's like, take the final blow, kill me, but he knows that that will be the final straw that brings him to the dark side. So Voss is like, no, I am a Jedi. Like, I'm not going to give in to darkness.
Like my father before me.
Like my father before me, except we don't know his dad. And so then Voss returns, like my master before me. And then Voss returns to Ventress, and Obi-Wan just shows up, and he's like, we'll take care of Dooku, Voss. And Voss is like, and then they go up, and he's like weeping over Ventress. Ventress is messed up. Her legs are broken. Her arms are broken. She's got like veins that are of like lightning and stuff in her. She's messed up. All right. And she admits that she loves him and is proud of him for doing the right thing, for choosing to do choosing the light side, and she dies in his arms. Last chapter, everybody, chapter 42. Dooku escapes by the aid of Sidious's forces just because. And then
it's so random too. They just say like, "Oh, by the way, Dooku, but he just escaped." By the way,
Dooku escapes with it.
It's so it literally made me laugh out loud during the scene. I was like, no freaking way.
Voss has returned to the temple, and he's interrogated by the council. He admits to all of his crimes. His goal was to get to both of the Sith Lords, killing them both, which was a stupid plan. Good. Anyway, he realizes that he lied to himself, and he had fallen to the dark side. Kenobi declares to the council that all of these events, so dark and terrible, transpired because the Jedi lost their way and permitted so dark as an assassination. Ventress' sacrifice saved Voss as well as the Jedi Council from going down this path fully. Over the months, Voss is put into Yoda's care before being let go into Kenobi's care so they can lay her to rest on Dathomir. Voss says they don't end up killing Voss, by the way. Voss
spoilers.
Says his final words as he brings her to the pool, kind of in the cavern, and he places her back in this black pool in the center of the village. As he does so, the colors change to green magic, and he hears the voices of the Night Sisters saying, "Sister," and that's Dark Disciple.
So for the people who may not believe me, this is how so we just get they beat Dooku. They literally he has been shot. He is basically dead. He throw some force lightning at Ventress.
He crashed in a ship. He got shot in lightning.
Anakin and Obi-Wan are there. We go through this whole thing about Asajj dying, okay? And then the next chapter opens up with this. It's just a paragraph. Voss had held Ventress in his arms afterward. How long, he did not know. but at some point he heard blaster fire and Obi-Wan Kenobi shouting his name, calling for help. Voss had gone, and the 3 Jedi fought together as yet again Dooku eluded capture. It's like they don't even like go into it. It's just like, by the way,
it's a yeah.
He's gone
At the
again.
beginning of Revenge of the Sith, when Obi-Wan is like, "Don't worry, Sith Lords are
Specialty.
No, they're not, dude. You're lying.
My powers have doubled
You
since the last
suck
time we
at
met,
catching Sith
Council.
Lords.
So okay,
It was like
I'm gonna,
2 weeks ago.
if you guys will indulge me, I got to get into this for a minute because it's like this is where just really I was giving the book the benefit of the doubt for a while. Like, okay, I'm liking the web that this is weaving. All right, what's the payoff? What's Quinlan Voss really doing? Nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You go through this whole time of like him, like this will they, won't they? He's working for Dooku, but maybe he's not. He's playing Asajj, and he won't tell her what the real plan is.
This is worse than Will Turner in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah, I guess
Seriously.
it's just like
You don't know what that guy's doing half the time?
He's just
it
there.
goes nowhere. And then it's a trope I hate anyway in books where it's like a character won't tell another character something.
Yeah.
Or in I guess fiction in general. Like
Mhm.
people often criticize in Star Wars, like, why doesn't Holdo tell Poe about the plan? So much could have been solved.
This feels
It's
like that.
here. It's like, why don't you just tell Asajj about your plan? You just keep saying it's just about us. This is all
Trust
about
me.
us. How is you killing both Dooku and Palpatine about your guys' relationship? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Also,
now,
for
if
that
he-
to only be revealed at the last possible second.
exactly. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. If you because he's already said he's leaving the Jedi Order. So who cares if you kill Palpatine?
Yeah.
Who cares? It makes no sense. I can't stand it. It's so bad. And then another
so
trope
happy
that I
you
hate.
I'm so happy you put on the Indiana Jones hat because it's literally like what people say about Raiders of the Lost Ark, where like if Raiders, nothing really changes if Raiders does or doesn't happen because of Indiana Jones being there. Like they still get the arc at the end and all that stuff.
That's what
like,
I was going for, Will. I'm glad you got that. Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
thank you. Good. Because that's exactly as soon as this happened, I was like, come on, dude, it's Raiders.
Yeah.
No, I don't subscribe to that theory, by the way. Anyway, but
yeah. Listen, I don't really have much to say other than this just back half of this book, like these last 10 chapters especially. Like for me, the book really just starts to fall flat after they rescue Quinlan Voss. Like that's where I'm like, for me, that's where it really goes downhill because I'm just like, okay, you rescued him, but he's actually playing both sides. And then, yeah, like you said, the payoff. You keep waiting for him to reveal this plan, and I keep hoping. I'm like, oh, he's got something cooking, right? You know,
Yeah.
And then it never happens, and it's just paid off in one line to the council where he's like, oh, I was just trying to kill both of them. Oh,
exactly.
Why?
And then there's no consequences. That's also what drives me nuts. Is there's nothing. He faces no repercussions. He has to get shadowed by Yoda for a little bit. And yeah, he's on probation.
Well, he
So,
can't be alone with Ventress's body at the end.
And it's
either.
like, dude, you killed how many people?
Hey.
Yeah, I know. I thought that too. It's a
It's
little
weird.
odd, but
Yeah.
He killed two Jedi, a bunch of clones, teamed up with Count Dooku, probably killed more clones. The book should, I'll be honest, the book should have ended when they go to capture or when they go to rescue him the first time. That's where everything should have been. It should have just been, oh, Dooku was doing that as a ploy or whatever. So then Ventress sneaks on, and then that's the whole thing. Book ends right there. Ventress dies. Quinlan is rescued. The darkness was still inside him just from the trauma that he went through. Bam.
Yeah.
That's where you end the book.
You know what? Have them both die at the end of this book.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Romeo
Yeah.
and Juliet.
That would have been so much better. But he
Ooh.
lives. And like, why does he live?
Ooh.
It's like, gosh, another trope that I hate. Ventress like dies like 4 times during her conversation, or it's
She's
like,
like,
and then her body
It's
went
not
limp.
Shrek. It's Shrek 3 with the
Yes,
king, the frog.
yes. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly. Have you ever seen that meme about Yoda when he dies in Return of the Jedi, where he's just like Luke, and then Luke keeps talking for a little bit, and then he's about to leave, and then you hear Yoda go Luke, and then he's like, okay, and he turns back around, and it keeps happening. That's what this felt like. I'm like, okay, is she dead or not dead? Gosh.
Yeah.
Poetry, Connor. It rhymes.
Speaking of that, that is the worst. That is the most egregious offense of this book. I will read it because it makes.
They didn't have to do the Return of the Jedi thing, but they did.
Let me read it exactly.
You know, she saved all of our souls.
The Count still smiled, still anticipated the final step that would turn Voss irrevocably to the dark side. I am not your kind, Voss said, his voice thick. I do not feed off vengeance. Truth was quiet. It did not need to shout or to demand. It simply existed. I am a Jedi. Voss deactivated his lightsaber. It's the same freaking scene. Like
They didn't. It doesn't work.
It doesn't. I mean, I am not your kind. You have failed, Your Highness. I am
Yeah,
a Jedi.
it's-
It's the same. This made me more mad than anything else in the book.
Will, go ahead.
Let's hear it.
What events in this book actually affected anything in Star Wars?
Nothing,
Asajj's
because
death,
Count
we'll see it in
Dooku
Bad
gets
Batch.
murdered a couple months later by a Jedi.
And
Yep.
the only thing that this book did was kill Asajj Ventress, and now she's back. We're probably going to see her on Wednesday.
I don't think
Nah.
we're going to see that
Yeah,
soon.
we are. Oh, yeah, we are. I'm calling
This
it.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
What's the
yeah.
name of this
Yeah.
episode?
Come on.
Oh, there's two
Because
episodes.
I
right?
went back and
Two.
wait. I went back and watched the episode. Everything we have seen is from that extraction episode. I guarantee it. We've
Nah.
seen everything else in the trailer. I bet it is.
No.
I'm with
when
you,
you're
dude.
jumping off of the ramp with Crosshair
Yes.
and all that stuff,
Yes.
and now he's back in the suit and everything. I said
Yes.
that last week on
And
Wednesday.
Oh no, that's what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I bet
Yeah.
she's at the end of this where they
Yep.
run into her. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dude, I'm with you.
Nah.
Those
I'm
two
with you.
episodes, because then they're going to do the bounty hunter thing where he fights the weird alligator thing in Star Wars Everglades.
Yep.
It's going to be in these two episodes.
I'm with him.
Maybe a stinger.
I'm with him.
in
No,
the second one.
I bet it's between the first and second. I bet one's
Yep,
gonna
at
be
the end
yep,
you will see her,
Yep.
and then the next one it'll be
yep,
all about.
and then
yep.
she's got to help him fight bounty
I-
hunters. I'm calling
I
it.
could see
Yeah,
that at
agree.
the end of the first one.
Where you
into
at,
the second
Grayson?
one.
A gentleman's bet. Then
Where you at, Grayson? I don't.
I
think
bet
so.
you one yellow line face tattoo.
I
don't
bet.
think it's
I bet
happening.
you one question mark yellow face tattoo.
Okay.
I think we still got
I'll-
a couple weeks.
I maybe in the second episode, but I think it will. I think it will.
I
So
bet
we
you
have.
one bottle of.
We,
Hit it!
I have something here for you.
Cerveza cristal. Cerveza cristal.
he comes up with a new post.
Is the stream over? We done?
Another piece as to why I think we're going to see her is the same thing that they did with both Cad Bane and Fennec Shand. They introduce them, they go away for a few episodes, and then they're back there at the end. It'll be the exact same thing with Asajj. We'll see her, we'll know she's back, we'll know she's running around, and then it'll be a comeback thing where she kind of has to help with the finale. Same thing
I will
with Fennec,
grant
same thing
maybe a
with Cad Bane.
stinger at the end of Extraction, but I don't think she's.
I'm calling it.
I don't think so.
I'm with you, Will.
I think
That's
she'll be in the.
just
I'll be.
Starman.
I think she'll be in the next set of double episodes, not these. I think it'll be double episode. Then we have one, and then that double set of episode. Although I don't know what they're called, but that's what I think.
Now I gotta look. We have anything else to say about this book?
Listen, I'm kind of over it at this point, and here's what I want to say. I'm not someone who Identity Crisis and Point of
The
No Return.
Harbinger. The Harbinger.
I
there.
think that's a safe bet right
or,
there.
Or bad territory.
No, that's when Quinlan comes back, the Harbinger.
Ooh.
Well, I think we do need to talk about that before we.
Admiral
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's where we got to end this. Like, so let's
Yeah.
we're talking about Bad Batch anyway. How's this all tying into Bad Batch?
I just want to say
It's
that
not.
I.
We're just going to get a nod, if anything.
Yep.
Here's what I
yes.
want to say. Like,
I
don't-
remember when I was a dark disciple.
Yeah.
I don't hate this book. I think it's sprinkled with a lot of really cool ideas, and like I said, we talked about a lot of our highlights, but the lowlights really bog this down, and I'm just kind of I'm glad I read it, but I don't see myself ever reading it again. And and so it's good to now be able to speculate with Bad Batch, but for me, like, before you guys all hopped in here, Tony, or I was like, oh, how'd you like the book? And I was like, I think I was kind of in like a cope phase where I was like, yeah, there's things that I do like about this book. And Tony and I were like, oh, I liked it. And then Will came and he's like, I hated it. I was like, hated it. And now that we're talking, I'm like,
Yeah.
feelings are now like, okay,
Well,
this
don't let us
book.
change your opinion. If you like it, you like it.
Yeah, if you liked it.
Well, here's the thing. I was already on edge with the I even told Tony before. I was like, I have some discrepancies with the book, and it was the wishy-washiness of Quinlan. Like that was really frustrating me, and his lack of plan, and the Dooku stuff. You make a good point. Like there was things I wasn't able to place, and you're just like, yeah, this would be, if tightened up effectively, would be a really good story. Would be a really good 4 episode arc.
Yep.
And that would be
that
would be a fun thing to like someone to kind of cut down. So in my head, I know I'm just gonna retcon the kind of dumb things and be like, and just kind of I know that's cope. It is. I don't care.
The best canon.
You guys tease me all the time about Rise of Skywalker, but that's what I do. Is like, dude, there's stuff all across Star Wars that's like, this is weird, this doesn't work, but the fact of the matter is this exists. It's canon. So why my thing always is I don't like to focus on the negative. I know I'm getting animated about it because it's fun and we're having a fun discussion. But at the end of the day, I had some fun with a lot of this. I think that Ventress was a really cool character in it. I think there was some fun references, like they kept referencing Obi-Wan background moment like a bunch. I don't know if you guys caught that. There was a bunch of little quotes.
They kept saying, what is it? Fear leads to hate, hate leads to anger.
Yeah, there's that stuff.
They said that like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, I've heard that before.
I wrote down one in chapter 31. It says you always take the high road, Kenobi, and then earlier there's another one.
Oh yeah,
like little things like that. It's just, I dig references, and I will say my favorite part of the book, because we kind of skipped over it, is Ventress's revelation when she reaches into the Force. I don't see that actually. You guys want me to read it real quick? It's not that long.
Is it towards the very end, where right before she gets zapped? Yeah. Go for it.
Right before she gets zapped.
That is, I have that highlighted as well. It's very good.
It's really good. So
did you find it? Okay.
Bro, I need to
did have it.
freestyle after this stream.
Oh, here it is. Sorry. Okay, so they're talking, right, and Quinlan's convincing Ventress, like, hey, I did all this for us, and we've already talked about that. But then Ventress says, like, all at once, warmth flooded through her. It was as if she were being bathed with soft light. It washed away the pain and the fear and the anger, leaving only perfect clarity in its wake. Ventress realized that it was the Force, but it had never felt like this, and it was giving her a gift. Time slowed to a crawl as a sudden calm sense of knowing permeated her. She saw all at once every possible outcome of the turn of this fraction of a second, every conclusion, every manifestation, every repercussion that would echo far into the future. Death and life and new chances laid down on one path. The restoration of balance, fear and disaster in existence that could never be called living, but merely crawling about in a shell of flesh that had no spark of joy. That too could be the future. Burning vengeance that only increased the hunger for more. She had only told Voss that he had a chance about what path he wished to walk, and that the Force was revealing to her the outcome of her own choices now, this moment, this instant, this breath. Ventress chose. And then that's when she chooses to save Quinlan. I think that's really cool. I think that's nice. I think it's a great moment.
Yeah, it's good. I think that's kind of her defining moment of her coming back to the light side fully, or coming to the light fully, because she's kind of dicey about it. But I just kind of hate that she gets strung along by Dooku and Voss for the.
She kind of gets done dirty a little bit.
Yeah.
Will, you had an epiphany?
Yeah. Okay, so I already think that, and we'll talk about our theories here at the end too, but like how Asajj will come back is through that whole the black water situation, and she's in between air and soil. Yeah, the water of life, and all you hear is the word sisters. So she's in a weird stasis, right? Is what I'm going to assume.
Worlds.
Exactly, and somehow she comes back. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be World Between Worlds, Force Ghost deal, but what I think the only other time that that's going to be used is when Thrawn's bringing all those Night Sisters back to Dathomir at the end of Ahsoka season 1. They're all going to get dropped in there, and they're all going to rise the same way as Asajj is brought back for Bad Batch season 3, and that's how we'll see it for Ahsoka season 2. It'll be the
for
same
sure.
thing.
I think that's. I think that's for sure the narrative, or rather the meta reason for bringing Ventress back in Bad Batch is to sort of sow the seeds for Thrawn later.
And
it gets the
some,
audience
weird
primed.
Night Sister connection thing.
Yeah, it gets the audience primed for it. I think there's either two things. It's either, I think the most obvious and the most likely is definitely it's whatever's going on in the waters of life. They do set it up several times in the book. Her death is kind of more definitive in the book than I thought it would be, because I did read the final passage when the Bad Batch trailer came out. But with the context of everything else, it was what's that?
I said, "Oh, how young you were when you were like excited about the book."
Yeah, right. And then, but I do think the other one, and this is, I know, a little more out there of a theory, but I think a clone might be interesting. I was pitching this to look like the Star Killer place.
Your mic is cutting out really bad.
Mic is cutting out.
Your mic was cutting out.
We hear me?
We barely heard
you. Hello?
Oh yeah, you're better now. You're better now. You're better now. Yeah.
So, like, what if she is a clone, and what if she narratively takes like the Star Killer role? Because I think that the Star Killer ship has sailed as far as canon goes. Like, the opportunity is passed, unfortunately, much to my chagrin. I would have loved it. But I mean, imagine that though, like what being cloned, a Force user being cloned. So they do it with Asajj, and she's kind of this template, this test, to get that going. I don't know. I know I haven't really fully formulated the theory or thought about it. It's very unlikely.
Well,
very unlikely, but it's something I thought.
I do like the idea of possibly it being more if we had gone the Force Unleashed 3 route, where we reveal that that version of Starkiller wasn't a clone after all, and that Vader was lying to him.
Is that real? I didn't know that.
That was the drafts. Yeah. That in 3 he was not going to be a clone, which I have mixed feelings about, but I could have rolled with it. I think Ventress, I mean, she dies in a very similar way to the way Starkiller does in The Force Unleashed.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's kind of got some parallels. I thought that would be this Dark Apprentice kind of vibe to it. And like I said, as much as I love Starkiller, I don't see a way to tell that story anymore. I think that every story that he would have been good in has already gone.
Imagine this is not going to happen, but imagine if they did like an Infinity War on us, where they were like, "Oh, don't worry, Ventress is back," and they're not going to do this because this would be mega lame. But they're like, "Oh, it aligns with the book," and they're like, "Actually, she's just not in it." Like they're just saying that like, "Oh, it aligns with the book."
Hulk in the trailer.
Yeah.
They get sued. There was actually a lawsuit with Infinity War over that.
Yeah. That won't happen, and I would be very mad if it did. I'm glad that Ventress is coming back. Yeah, like you make a good point. Like this book, like I remember for years I'm like, man, I need to read this book. You need to figure out what's going on with Ventress, what happens with that, and this was kind of the incentive for that. That was the entire reason we did this. Was like, oh, well, let's make that our next book. We'll just do it in one stream, and I'm glad we did. But ultimately, other than like, is Quinlan going to show up and how does she come back? I don't really have any, like, there's nothing really there for me to wonder,
This story to me could hold the exact same amount of weight as Han saying, "What about the bounty hunter on Ord Mantell?" Like, it could just be this offshoot story where it gets like 3 comic books. It explains it. It's just a fun thing for like deep lore nerds like us to be like, "Oh, actually, when he says that, this is what the bounty hunter on Ord Mantell looks like. He's basically just Cyborg, but a yellow alien." Like, it's just the exact same thing. And it be mentioned when she comes back for this. Honestly, this book, initially everybody's outcry of, "Oh, this book retcons Asajj Ventress's death. What about Dark Disciple? What about Dark Disciple?" Honestly, after reading this book, I am excited that she is coming back because this did not stick.
Yep.
That confirms that all of this we really don't need to think about, because once again, this book changes nothing. Other than I think setting up the whole Night Sister Ra's al Ghul Lazarus Pit.
Ooh, Ra's al Ghul, baby.
You know what's funny is people like myself complain a lot about the retconning that Disney has done, whether it's books or comic books, etc. The Kanan comic is a notable one. Ahsoka in Tales of the Jedi with her Inquisitor thing is another one. Yeah. And the excuse was, I remember, like, I think Dave Filoni talked about it, like, if there's a way we can make those stories better, we're going to do it, right? In my opinion, so this is the one story that they're not retconning. In my opinion, they did the complete opposite, where the Kanan comic and the Ahsoka book are better than what we saw on screen and make more sense in line with those shows. And this one is the one they're deciding not to retcon, and it is not that great. Like, it's just a weird flip, you know?
Here's
I've
a
got
pitch,
the Filoni clip too, if you need it.
Here's a pitch. Imagine this book mostly exactly the same as it is. Like the same setup, the same premise, except for the Jedi Council wants to assassinate Admiral Trench. Like it opens up, Admiral Trench is the one, right? And so it's someone who can really die. It's not really that important. It is, but it's not, right? And then you don't have to worry about the baggage that comes with Count Dooku. And I know you lose a little bit with Asajj Ventress because she has a deep connection with Count Dooku. But you could play off of like, well, hey, Asajj was a separatist for a long time. She has ins and outs of this. You could make that work. Again, I know it wouldn't be quite as impactful to the relationship with Count Dooku, but at least you could have a big payoff at the end.
Because at least Ventress would, like, you could bring Dooku to get involved without making it Dooku, right?
There you go. Perfect.
Like,
yes.
Like Dooku could show up at the end and it's like you've been like a pest that like I'm going to deal with finally.
Great point. That is exactly a great way to fix that. It's like he could still get involved,
and you could make him kind of like how Vader shows up and just make him this thing that the good guys just can't touch.
Yeah.
That's how you should handle it. Because there's other, like Admiral Trench is one where we know Anakin kills him, but at the time I don't think he.
Well, I just used him as like a throwaway. It could be anybody, and it's in the Separatists, like any of those guys. Like start the book with the same cold open, and maybe it's Dooku and Trench, and they're like, this guy keeps. We need to make an example out of these guys. You could still have the thing where the Jedi are dealing with this moral issue, and it's like, really, we're talking about assassinating an admiral and the Separatist army. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah,
I just think
it works better.
There's so much in animation that's referred to as filler when people are watching stuff like the Bad Batch and Clone Wars and like, oh, it's a Jar Jar Binks Padme episode. Let's skip that. It doesn't really do anything. There's so much stuff that is referred to as filler. This and a lot of times I get mad when people refer to the slower Bad Batch episodes as filler. Obviously, stuff like tech building that speeder, like that's like, that's filler, but I still enjoyed it. Whatever. It builds character. This 100% is filler. It's an addition that does not add anything. When you look at all the stuff from Bad Batch, it's like, what does this give us?
I will devil's advocate just a little bit, only in that. Here's how my view on filler. Filler is like something story either needs to move character, story, or both. And there are definitely episodes of Bad Batch where story doesn't move, but characters definitely do. Like we see that. In this book, we do see a lot of character move, at least with Ventress. We see a lot of character movement, and we see because she dies, and we do see her definitely come more into the light in her relationship with Quinlan. But Quinlan, he has development, but it sucks.
Dude, Admiral Nick.
Yeah,
dude.
But like, did Ventress really need to die? Did she really?
Yes, and that's the point. Is like that. The thing that sucks though is like the whole story gets back to our status quo while losing a character.
It should,
and it's like
even if who should have died. I mean, if you're not going to kill Ventress, right? Quinlan.
And then Ventress has a reason to go to the light side because she lost her lover in a way that she set up, tried to teach him to become part of the dark side, realized that she did, and then he sacrifices himself for her. Now she has to live with that and do stuff like the Jedi path and help kids out in the Kenobi show. That's what it should have been.
We're coming for you, Christie.
No, I will say, I do like. Have you guys read the Inferno Squad book?
Adapted it.
Yeah.
No.
The Inferno Squad book is a better story than the Battlefront 2 actual story.
Yeah, the prequel book.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's really good. It's
No,
really
she's-
good.
Just
It's-
Jackson, guys. She's a good.
I don't
she's
want
got-
to. I don't
she's
want to
got a
hate
lot
on
of really
Katie
good stuff.
Lucas.
Yeah,
but like this book, basically, final point standing is it feels kind of like they just took the raw script that Katie Lucas had written out, maybe with one passive revision, and they were like, we can't make it an episode. They had started prevising it, and they just gave it to Christie Golden. They were like, adapt this. And they didn't do any cutting or anything. Because if they did, it's already a short book. If they had cut it out, it would have been like, I mean, it could be a 200-page book. That would have been fine. Dude, it's a good book, man. And I'd love to read it on the. I think I don't think almost got to finishing. But that's just. What
I don't think
like.
it was
just
their
feels
fault.
like a. No, I think it just feels like a very, very rough draft that needed to be cleaned up. And I feel like, hopeful, if it had been a Clone Wars episode, it probably, or episode arc, it would have been tidied up. It's just kind of all over the place, man.
How much do you think was changed in this from those drafts to the actual book? Like, is this point A to point B a lot of the same stuff, you think?
Well, we saw an animatic or whatever of something that didn't happen in the book, so she had to probably fill in holes of stuff where it's like, well, we needed the story to really be about.
She definitely had to fill in stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she needed to fill in like what they're doing at the time because we're not going to focus on this because it's not a TV show. It's a book about these two.
I know it's not a perfect 1-to-1, but the audiobook I think is like 9 hours, whereas the Clone Wars
11
episodes would have only been 4 hours long.
Yeah,
if they made all 8. So
the audio was
that much
11
more
hours.
content. Yeah. Like I said, I know it's not a 1-to-1.
The ending, and the ending feels like out of the stuff we've seen from like the animatics and all of the drafts and everything that we've shown, because you guys are right that we've seen so much about this arc. To make a book about it makes sense because it was presented as like there's all of this stuff going on. But I think all of us across the board kind of have this feeling of the end is where it really nail in the coffin. This story is not great. I have a feeling like that's kind of where the drafts tailed off into, rather than having all of that detail of like Asajj and Quinlan are there. Count Dooku kills Asajj. It's Force lightning. And then you just figure it out from there. And maybe that's where she took a little bit of the reins from that, because that's honestly, and like I said, we all felt the exact same way. That book tails off right at the end where you're like, what are we doing? It really doubles down on all of the inconsistencies that we were mad about as you were given across the book. So I don't know. It just kind of,
you also give a good point. Like that last chunk also really dives into playing the hits. Like you get so much just, hey, you remember Star Wars? Like that's the whole last bit.
If Quinlan literally did everything that Luke did in Return of the Jedi, except for throw his lightsaber, it was
he's a combo.
Same thing.
He's a combo between Anakin and Luke. His motivations are Anakin, but then he acts like Luke.
And then that Anakin and Obi-Wan were also just there at the same time, and Quinlan and Asajj are the ones who are the focus of. Like, I get putting the spotlight on those characters, but in terms of the Jedi during the time of the Clone Wars, when Anakin and Obi-Wan show up, it's their show. Quinlan and Asajj are not the ones who should be dealing with Count Dooku. It should be Obi-Wan and Anakin. And yet again, Sith Lords aren't your specialties, guys.
Liar.
Seth?
Well, we already even know, too, that the Bounty Hunter episode with Obi-Wan's already happened, right?
Oh, yeah.
But so that's when Sidious realizes at that point in the Clone Wars, right? That like Anakin's pretty much ready. Like he's so it's like, think about that. Dooku's able to escape Anakin multiple times now at this point, when that's been months ago. That so like Anakin's gotten even more powerful. How is Dooku able to escape every time then? Anakin should just be able to, well, he can 1v1 him. Like,
I mean, he does in the book. He basically
he locks himself in a room and just decides to fight him.
If I can say one last thing about inconsistencies, Connor, like you said, at the end of this book, they're just playing the hits of Star Wars. One thing I think about, because Anakin's there, but because specifically Dooku's there, when Anakin is going to kill Sidious and he's like, it's not the Jedi way, we have to put him on trial. Like, that's the only time where I'm like, maybe it does make sense where Quinlan doesn't kill him like that, but they don't capture him is the thing that bothers me. So if you're going to leave him, at least make sure you got him pinned down or something. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just so, put a lightsaber through his leg. He's not going to move. He's going to sit there.
Yeah. The other thing that bothered me too is that one part where Quinlan and Dooku escape from the clones. I'm like, you guys are making such a big deal about it. Just have the clones kill him.
Yeah.
Just have him shoot him. If you're like, oh my gosh, our morals and everything, just whatever. Have the clones do it. That's what they're there for. Yes. Have them do it.
I mean, they do that in the
Order 66
in the show. They Rex at their slavers arc. I forget what the arc is called.
Oh yeah.
where they have those
War
slavers.
Crimes, baby.
Rex is like, I'm not a Jedi. I can do
Just,
it.
Yep.
There's the inconsistencies
anyway,
of
guys.
morals that are set up are so strange for this. It's ridiculous.
I'm convinced that this was just not fully streamlined and it needed some work. That's just what I think. I think it's a solid foundation with a bunch of crappy filling, you know.
See,
it's just,
4 out of 10.
I disagree. I think it's the foundation is the problem. I think they do some interesting things with the structure.
Well,
but it all falls apart because of the foundation.
Well, we talked about it. Like, we worked through, like, you know, the things, like some of the core things. Well, you make a good point. You make a good point.
The root of the issue is literally the root of the book.
Yeah, they're trying to assassinate Count Dooku. That's the whole problem.
It's a cool premise. It just doesn't work, man. It's unfortunate. I mean, I'm glad we read it. Maybe Cole dodged a bullet. You know,
that's the real reason. He was like, "Guys, I got other stuff."
Would have been real cool if they sent Boba Fett to assassinate Count Dooku.
Yeah,
that would have got it done.
He would have got it done.
Dude, man.
So
yeah.
What do we read next? What's up next?
So we will be taking a little bit of we might have a little bit of a backup plan. I'm going to pitch it to everybody here, but concretely at the end of April, as the beginning of April, the Living Force debuts. I believe it's on April 3rd. So I want to get, and we're going to try to split that up into some even chapters. Hopefully the Jedi Council is cooler in this book. And John Jackson Miller,
Quinlan shows up. If Quinlan shows up.
Yeah. So that is the next book we're going to be reading. It's getting I retract my statement. Yeah. So that's the next book we'll be doing. We'll be doing that around the end of doing the first part of that around the end of April. I don't know how long that book is, but that is what is on our radar. So when that book drops at the beginning of April, grab yourself a copy in whatever format you like, and that's the book we'll be doing. And then after that book, it's open air. It's open-ended. We might leave it to you guys, or we might give you some options. So stay tuned.
Cool. I'm down. It was fun. They can't all be winners.
They can't. Hey, it's at least we got a non-winner out of the way, maybe early, to kind of I still had a great time discussing.
You know, you can't enjoy a Plagueis without a Dark Disciple.
I feel bad for Tony because I know Tony came in here like just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. He's like, I love this book.
Oh,
and now
I'm sorry. I had fun in my mind seeing the Sith Eyes Quinlan for that little bit. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
It's still cool, bro.
But I mean, like a lot of the stuff you guys said makes sense. Like there's a lot of plot holes. So.
Get out of here, Quinlan.
You suck. No, I'm kidding.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I feel bad for that guy.
Hey, Quinlan, change your name.
Quinlan was here.
I'm sorry, Quinlan. I don't know if you're just now joining, but
He
across the
probably
board, we did not love the book.
They don't like you anymore, Quinlan.
Sorry.
Change your name to Admiral Enigma.
Wait, pull up the picture again. Make him change it to his profile picture to this.
Yeah. One second. I'm gonna bring it up right now.
Custom figure of this,
dude. Does the Black Series Quinlan Voss exist?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe Hasbro wouldn't do that.
Nah, there isn't
Really?
one. I could have swore there was.
There's
one.
not.
Surely. Sure. Oh,
They didn't
man.
make half of the characters that show up in the sequels. They're not making a Quinlan.
I love how you posted
There's
this
12
in the middle.
Mandos, though. We got 24 Mandos at least.
Yep.
Yeah, more than
So
that.
we'll get another dozen before we get. It'll be at least 35 before we get Quinlan.
What's everybody's
and then
rating
even then,
of
he's
this?
just going to be. What's that?
What's everybody's rating of this? If you had to rate it?
Oh, rating of the book?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's tough because there's good stuff in here.
Tier list? Book club tier list?
We have two books.
We have
Here's
two
where
books.
I would put it.
Okay.
This is my Bad Batch episode tier list.
Yeah, don't mess with that.
That's fine. We can just
by using our rules where we like the peaks and the valleys, the law of averages. I'm like very low C tier if I'm being generous, but I'm probably high D.
It's a D.
I'm saying low C. Yeah.
I'll go C.
I think that there's enough things that like I enjoyed while reading it that makes me put it. I know there were pretty bad moments, but
man,
there were times that I was having a good time. So I would probably
I will say
low C or
I gotta disagree with Quinlan. The book at the very least is not boring. It's just has issues.
That's true. It's not boring.
It's repetitive.
It's not boring.
It's repetitive. Yes.
I was never bored. I was just dissatisfied.
I guess we'll put Will, where do you put it at? C, D?
This might be an F tier book. This was not fun. Like at every point in this book, I was like, why? I was angry that they were making the decisions they were making. And then at the end of the book, I felt bad. Nothing changed my opinion of this book. I am so happy Asajj Ventress did not die.
Yeah. Well, she did. No, she didn't. Yeah. So I guess we're putting it around like low D. I think that's from the averages there. That's about where that lands.
Yeah.
Oh.
Y'all are whack. Hey, that's okay.
Do you even know
his name?
Will, that was a picture of you.
Dude, he's back.
That's fantastic. Is that one of you guys?
No.
That's
no, dude.
100% Will.
Not even.
That's probably the Thrawny burner account.
I love that.
Oh my!
Man, I
new con idea, new costume, Thrawnian Admiral Enigma.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, it has been fun. It has been real. I'm glad we read it. Glad to be over it. Glad to read The Living Force. That's all I got.
We're sorry if you read this book.
Hey, it was fun though. Seriously, if you guys liked it, then like it.
That's big on our. It may not be our Star Wars, but it can be your Star Wars, and that's really cool.
Yeah, we're always open to it.
Yep.
That's how I always feel about Star Wars things. Even if there's a book or a project that I'm not particularly fancy on, there's always something that I can appreciate out of it. And there was things that I did in this. So yeah. But does anybody want to give their parting locations where they can find you guys before I exit us out?
You can find us at Beyond the Dune Sea.
Out Beyond the Dune Sea.
Out Beyond the Dune Sea.
That's true.
Yeah.
Star Wars Sith and Sith Talk podcast on YouTube.
You can find me floating in a pool of black water on Dathomir, just waiting for this book to be better.
You can find me at Mortis FM because that's what matters.
And also, Mortis FM just had a good cameo appearance on Tales from Hashi Station. Go watch it.
Yeah.
I did. Where we actually converted some of Legends characters into canon, and one of those actually was Starkiller.
It's good stuff.
He should be the link between Palpatine and Snoke.
Not a bad take. But that'll be for another tale. And remember, if they're not in the archives or records or something, they don't exist.
It does not exist.
Oh, wait. Hold on. One more thing. I need a drink.
Yeah,
you guys have one?
I have something here for you.
Cerveza Cristal.